Good morning. Welcome on in. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm PK. DJ is off on this Friday, and we have got football right around the corner. Basketball. Jazz played against the Clippers in the Summer League as that's winding down. But we've got to talk some football. Less than 2 weeks away from the start of training camp. And, got Utah State in the news with Blake Anderson challenging it and Utah State putting out a statement on that. We can get to that later. We'll hit that what's trending, as that's a saga that isn't going to end well. Ike Larson going on X, formerly Twitter, making it sound like he wants to stay, which is good because he's one of their better players, and I would think he'd be in demand. You can read his statement on that social media post if you're interested. But, I got some good news. Ken Niumatalolo, right? Coached at Navy for many, many years, interviewed for the BYU job, was some kind of special assistant to Chip Kelly down in Los Angeles with the Bruins, and now he's the coach at San Jose State. Let's hear from him at Mountain West Media Days.
Congratulations on the San Jose State job. How are you?
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're from the state of Utah because he got your name dead on.
It was like, wow.
Yeah. How many other stations have nailed it? Has everybody got it pretty well?
Actually, a little bit better, but better than the East Coast.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, way better than the East Coast for sure.
How much? Everybody got synonymous with what you ran at Navy. Do you take that to San Jose, or how much different do you look from an offensive standpoint going into San Jose State?
Yeah, we'll be completely different. I think for the conference, I guess, everybody knows it. It's going to be similar to Hawaii under Coach Rolovich.
Okay.
Because it's Craig Stutzman, who is offensive coordinator, so he's the guy that I hired. So it's going to be along the lines of what Coach Rolovich.
Is this going to be fun for you to let it to sling it around a little bit?
Yeah, I'm excited.
As opposed to what you did.
I'm excited. What we did at Navy was by necessity.
Yeah.
Trying to shorten the game. What we had to do with the size of the players that we had. But I knew if there was ever an opportunity to maybe go somewhere else that he would do something different. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Craig does. Not just, that and all, but also our defense.
So when you got in and you started opening up the cupboards and, lifting up the rug and looking under the rug, how were things with Coach Brennan and the way things exited and the way things were left?
Yeah, great question. Coach Brennan did a great job. I thought he did a great job of recruiting great young men. So you can tell he recruited young men of character. There's some good kids. So it's the first thing you look at, just the locker room. And I thought he did a great job there with the type of people who are here. I feel very fortunate that both coordinators stayed. Derek Odom stayed, who was the defensive coordinator, and he's done a great job here. Kevin McGivern, who was the offensive coordinator before, he stayed. So I feel very, fortunate with him staying. I hired Craig Stutzman to be the offensive coordinator. But then there's always things that you see. The facilities are awesome. They just opened them. They just opened them a couple months before.
New builds, huh?
Yeah, so it's a brand new building. So very fortunate with that. But, with the portal, the NIL, there's always transition. You're trying to make that change like all of us are trying to do. There's always new transition to a new school. Some of the rules and regulations and things you can do, which is part of the transition period. That's kind of where we're at. But I feel like it couldn't have been in a better spot. When Coach Brennan left, there's things we've had to adapt after that, but I was pleased.
It's a difficult place in terms of the cost of living's crazy high there. So when you're hiring assistant coaches, that can be a little bit. I talked to Coach Brandon about that. That can be a little bit problematic. But also, when you're recruiting a kid, you're in the middle of Silicon Valley. So, you're getting a great education. You're getting some great job opportunities. I got to imagine that's a selling point to San Jose.
Well, it's definitely one of our sales. Just come and play great football, get great education, but set yourself up for life after. Some of the NIL stuff, some of our stuff is, hey, you get your NIL on the back end. Yeah. Because you're all these high-tech, companies, some of the most profitable ones in the world, not just in our country, but in the world, are in your backyard. And so just being able to play off that and have different guys being able to have internships at, Google or Adobe or just different places, it's been a great sell for us, which Coach Brennan, different coaches have started, and we've just tried to add on to that. But it's definitely been a plus.
Obviously, the state of Utah was really unhappy with how things ended for you and Navy. I mean, everybody empathized and understood what the situation was, and it was rough to see you leave because we loved having you as part of our service academies, and it was awesome to have you there. With that being said, when it was over and you were done at Navy and you're sitting down with the family, was it, no, we're jumping right back into this, or was it, no, let's go see what other opportunities are out there?
Yeah, it was a great question. I didn't know. I was going to trust in the Lord just to see what's next for our family. Felt fortunate enough that we kind of put ourselves in a position that I didn't have to be in a rush, that we were okay financially, that, we'll see what happened. But I was just going to wait and see what happened. I tried to interviewed with some TV companies. I mean, all the sports companies, all the major people, but I only got one interview, didn't get a second one. So I obviously flunked all those. So I nixed that part. Goes, maybe I'll do some TV booth stuff. Okay, I got nixed that. And so I was just going to sit out for a little bit, and then I got a call from my former chief of staff who's at UCLA, and Chip Kelly had an offer. And my son was a graduate assistant there, and I thought, what a great opportunity. I got to go work with my son. I was working with my other son who played at BYU for my last 3 years at Navy. So even though our football kind of struggled a little bit, for me it was 3 of my best years being with my son. And then going to UCLA, who my son was a graduate assistant who played at Utah under Kyle. Now I get a chance to coach with him. So the last 4 years have been awesome because I was able to coach with my 2 sons. But I was also to sit back and to watch Coach Kelly. And so when I was looking at different opportunities, he just presented an opportunity just to come and just be with him. He kind of made up a position. I wasn't really doing anything. It's kind of director of leadership. And I just kind of went and helped, but it was awesome for me because I got to sit back, come into staff meetings, just sit in the back of the room and just see how he does things. And having been the head coach for 15 years where I was at the front of the table, it was really nice to be on the outside and just to watch and observe and learn and see how the NIL was affecting college football, see how the transfer portal was affecting things.
Yeah, you watched it evolve in most critical times. You watched it evolve from the outside.
I wouldn't have been prepared for this job if I wasn't at UCLA. It just helped prepare me. I feel like the transition for me has been pretty smooth. It would have been a lot harder if I'd come from Navy to come in here. So that year at UCLA was definitely the Lord blessed me there. I needed that.
You talk about the Lord blessing you. I know faith has always been super important to you, and you've been really open and honest in the forefront. How has that translated to you as a coach and how you relate to players and your openness with your faith and things along those lines?
I always want to be transparent with my players and just people around. This is who I am. I'm not telling you to come to my church or, to believe what I believe, but this is how I believe. And I used to remember, and I remember my first staff meeting as the head coach in 2008 with our coaching staff when I told them I wasn't coming to work on Sundays. And they looked at me like, what? Sundays are the most important day in college football. You just finished your previous game. You got to review that and move on to the next game. But but don't confuse that I'm trying to get out of anything. This is the best way that I know how to lead our football program. That I'm going to come back a better leader on Monday and be able to lead our program and be who I need to be for us. And I tell that to our players, this is what I do, this is who I am. I believe in the Lord, but you believe in what you believe, but this is who I am. And I've always gone with that approach, and that's always I've always operated. I'm just going to be who I am. I haven't tried to impose anything on anybody. I'm just going to be me. And my players and my people that I've worked with, been around, they know that's who I am.
Scotty and I took bets when you left Navy. We said you're going to be a general authority. That's where you were headed. and we kind of took odds on it. Thought, no, he's going to be higher up in the church, but he's going to be.
Well, as we all know, the Lord makes that call. Right now, I'm in the Sunday school in my new ward, and I'm excited to be there.
I love it.
You serve wherever you serve, you know what I mean? And it just, yeah, I mean,
They got you in the Sunday school, huh?
yeah. So
Gloves on, 3 rounds. You versus Sekahema. Who wins right now?
oh, he'd kill me.
3 3-minute rounds.
He'd kill me.
No.
Vi'd kill me. Vi's one of my best friends, and he's a true boxer. He's learned how to box, but he's also a great person. He's been a great confidant over the years.
Yeah.
You know, when he was at Philly, I mean, I used to bounce a lot of things off them. He'd bounce ideas off me, but we'd also talk from the standpoint of it was kind of cool. I feel like his career has been cool because he thought he went to Philadelphia to play football, but little did he know, 30 years later, he was a pivotal part in the temple being built there. You know, the Lord has a way of working things out. You know, all those years back in the 80s when he was playing with the Eagles and creating his name, and he stayed there as a sports broadcaster, and he thought it was all about that. The Lord was using him as an instrument, and I've recognized that in my profession, that I've been able to share my belief, and as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and people, when he's in at the Naval Academy, wherever I've been, this is who I've been. But I also know that the Lord uses us to do his work, and just whether it's just to be good people, whatever that might be, but just bringing Vi's name up just made me think about all those things. Just, awesome person, obviously.
I know you're removed from Navy a little bit, but do you still look at Troy Calhoun and kind of you guys gave each other the up and down like I can't imagine that goes away very easily.
The spirit's gone.
It's kind of funny because, it's kind of funny because I don't know how many times I've chased a ref down the sidelines. My kid's like, Dad, you can't do that. Then you lose the spirit. But anyways, Troy and I've played Air Force 34 years. Because I've been at Hawaii, been at UNLV, and at Navy. Those are the 3 places I've coached, and we play them every year. So the 1 year I didn't play them was last year at UCLA, and I finally told my wife, finally get away from Air Force, and then we come back here.
Yeah.
And I saw our second game. We're going back to Colorado Springs, but I have tremendous respect for him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at the guy's won 130 games. I mean, he's one of the best football coaches in the country that people don't even talk about. I mean, what he's done at Air Force, amazing. And he's a really good football coach, and unfortunately I have a lot of experience at Colorado Springs. It's going to be a tough place to play, but he's a really good football coach, and we're good friends.
How much are you stomping into Utah's territory for your recruiting?
We're going heavy into Utah.
Yeah,
just knowing just how the state's grown. Football there is just off the charts now, and I feel like that area fits us. I have two former Utah State football players that are on my staff, Boje Filimuhatu.
Oh, yeah.
And
Boje's the best.
Lapuaho. So 2 of those guys. Well, Kevin McGibbon. I mean, he's, coached at BYU, is a GA there. So I got 3 Utah guys there on my staff. But I know how good the football is there, and I know how close it is to us, geographically and just our league. And so, yes, we're going to Utah's going to be a big part of recruiting because the football is really, really good up there, and I feel like it's going to fit the type of kids up there. Are going to fit the culture that I'm looking to establish at San Jose State.
That's Ken Niumatalolo. We're going to get some BYU sound. Stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. We sure appreciate it. As always, I'm PK. DJ's off today. We got some sound we need to play. The receivers at BYU, how are they going to do this year? They're going to do good? They're going to have a quarterback who's going to throw the ball? Is it going to work? Well, for the Cougars' sake, you hope so. Let's hear from receivers Chase Roberts and Darius Lassiter.
We got a guy that looks like he belongs in Las Vegas.
Let's go.
Holy cow.
Looks like $1 million.
Holy cow.
Appreciate that.
How sharp.
Not really.
But how good are you feeling about all this, Chase? How's things going?
It's been a blast. It's been so fun thus far, and just excited for the rest of the day. But this is where it's at right here with KSL.
BYU radio, BYU wide receiver Chase Roberts hanging out with us. And Chase, you jumped on an airplane. I saw you guys with all the pictures. What's that like? What is that, a private jet?
Yeah, that's right.
Open seating?
Yeah, they've been treating us really well. It's been awesome, almost too well. We're just grateful to be here, and they've been treating us like gold, which is awesome, and we're grateful.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the season that you had before we get into the season that you're going to have. Just take us back to that 2023 season. How did you feel about your performance? How did you feel about the team's performance?
Yeah, I think everyone was disappointed with the outcome of the season, and we still did a lot of amazing things. And looking back, it's all learning. And first year in the Big 12, there's a lot of unknown. But now going into year 2, we've figured it out. This off season was absolutely amazing. So we're just excited for year 2.
How much work has gone into between then and now for you?
Oh, it's nonstop. And it's not only the physical work, getting stronger and faster, but the mental side of things, reading the defense, being able to slow things down when you step on the field. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see as we have a more veteran group going into next year.
I've got to imagine that's the case. I'm curious, how much have you had an opportunity to work with Retzlaff kind of away from the grid?
Yeah, all off season. I mean, we've traveled to California for 2 weeks. We've gone all over the place to get that timing down, and not only with with all the quarterbacks, and being able to be confident in whoever steps on the field game 1, we'll be ready to go because we put in the work.
When you get 2 transfers that step in, especially a quarterback, how do you connect with them? Like, as simple as that, like, is it not a guy you played with last year? How do you get their number? How do you meet up? What is that like?
Yeah, you just right off the bat, right? I feel like anytime someone transfers here or comes in, you follow them on Instagram right away, just showing, hey, you're on our team, you're part of this program, and we love each other. We're brothers. And day 1, you want to meet, and you want to go throw, and it's just right then you get it going, and then it rolls from there. You try to meet up every other day and get the timing down, go out to lunch, whatever it is, and just make sure that they feel like they're part of this brotherhood.
Tell us a little bit more about Bohannon. Because, we talk about Retzlaff, and it feels like he's going to be given the first shot, but we know that Bohannon was brought in to win. He was brought in to play and win.
That's the thing about Gary. He's a competitor, and has a lot of experience of winning. And the dude's a great leader. When he steps on the field, people you can feel the confidence in him that he's going to make something happen, in spring ball and throughout, PRPs and stuff that we've done this offseason. And so we're confident in him as well if he steps on the field.
How much more straightaway speed do you have than Darius Lassiter?
We were actually just looking at
We've got a field here right behind us. Darius.
I'll let Darius take this question.
Let's turn this on. There you go.
In real life, we just seen NCAA, and I was a little disappointed with my speed.
Oh, was that
in the game? Yeah, the new game that we just played.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I was a little disappointed in my speed.
But I think when game time comes, like you put the pads on, Darius is one of the fastest on the field.
Yeah.
Like I
feel like football, like game time live action. I'm one of the fastest ones.
I noticed Jacob Robinson. He walked by just as we were saying that, and he kind of just shook his head.
Yeah.
Kind of looking at both of you like,
Jacob.
Is he the one with the speed?
He got a higher rating in speed than us in the NCAA, but
when it comes to playing the game of football, it's different. Like there's deceptive speed. There, like you can blow by guys that run 4.2s at pro day. You know what I mean? Like it's how you run the route. It's change of speed. You see Luka Doncic out there on the basketball court, and he's not fast by any means, but he's blowing by dudes. So that's
nothing
what we like to
deceptive
think
about
about.
me. I'm just slow. Everyone knows I'm slow. They're like, this dude's going to be slow, and I am. It's amazing, yeah.
So, Darius, we were just talking about talking to Chase about just the overall experience. How's this been? Getting on a jet, flying around, just the overall experience of Media Day.
Yeah, it's a blessing that we get this opportunity to even come out here for all schools. Just coming out here in the Legion Stadium, it's a beautiful stadium. It's real nice. Getting to meet other teams, other players, other coaches, just kind of talking to them, just getting a feel for how they operate over there on their teams, and then we kind of give them a little glimpse of what we do and things like that. So this experience, the whole thing has just been great. It's kind of sad it only lasts us one day and not like a few. So, but it's been a great experience.
So let's talk about the direction that Festus Sitake has gone with you guys.
Yeah.
Because, I'm the color analyst up in the booth, and so I called the games. travel with each of them. I'm up there with Greg Wrubell and calling the games, and there were some alignment issues, and there were some illegal downfield issues, and there were some problems just overall with the wide receiver group. I'm just curious, what type of work, what type of expectation, what type of emphasis have you guys put into the receiver room to clean up that stuff?
Go ahead.
I feel like his way kind of has been the same the whole time. The standard has never changed with him, and it's not going to change. He holds us to a high pillar because we're probably the most experienced group on the team. So anytime we do something, a little mistake, he gets on us, he rips us. But, I mean, that's what you need in a coach, somebody that's just going to get on you because that shows that he cares. It's not just about you, it's about the team. And when you do, like, minor little mistakes like that, that hurts the team. So we have to be better. And that's what we've been working on to do.
Yeah, I think going forward in the future, what we've been doing this offseason is different than what we've been doing in the past. And we're meeting up every day as a receiver core, and we're going through plays. We're running through plays because I think the biggest thing is those alignment stuff and getting right off the bat, and then the play will take care of itself, right? We've got some athletic dudes that are going to make plays. So if we can fix those little things, which is what we've been emphasizing in the offseason. So spending an hour a day just getting together as a wide receiver core every other day and lining up, getting everything, and all, 3 deep, having them on board to, okay, we're confident in putting you in, and you're going to know what you need to do.
And that's kind of the other direction I want to go with that,
yeah.
Chase, is how much were you guys being asked to do something outside of the norm? As far as, because I go back to my time, and it's like you played a position.
Yeah.
And in that position, I had responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And when people would take me out of the position and put me in a different position and ask me for different responsibilities, sometimes there were mistakes. How many times were you guys having to fill a role because of injury or otherwise? And how much did that play a role in some of the things that we saw? Did that happen a lot?
I don't know if it was being out of like our position, like having to play a different thing that we're used to. I think it was more being on page and being confident in all those. Like when someone does get injured, that second guy or third guy is ready to go, and just having. I don't know if there was any time like we were put in like a different position.
I don't think so either. I just feel like we're not just taught to play one position. Outside, we play both. So I guess that's probably the most that we ever did, to where we had to go learn something else. Sometimes if we're in a certain personnel and we trying to go fast, like we got to line up at the tight end position, whatever that might be. So we kind of got to know everything.
And that's the expectation, I guess, is to know it all.
Did the two of you have a race to have the craziest catch? Because honestly, you guys have been. You remember some of the catches that these guys pulled down. You guys pulled down like miracle receptions. What goes into something like that? Is that just like a luck in the moment and a focus in the moment? Some of those big plays that you have like that?
I kind of feel like it's like more of a feel type of thing. Like your body just kind of reacts on its own. Like you don't really too much think about it. It just happens.
Yeah.
Happens naturally. Like I feel like, nowadays people do practice catches in one hand, but I feel like in like game time, like you don't ever just be like, okay, I'm finna go up there and jump and grab this one hand. It's just like your body just moves on its own type thing.
Yeah, I'd say the same. You just react and hope for the best.
When you have something like that, do you stand up and you're like, I can't believe I did that?
That was me. When I
was the catch against Arkansas.
I had one against Arkansas. Yeah,
it was one of the craziest I've seen.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was a fun one. I was ecstatic. I was kind of blown away by that. I'm sure there was a lot of just luck involved and a great throw and just excited.
Well, Darius, thanks. Chase, thanks. And you guys mentioned this deep veteran. Experienced all kinds of things in that receiver room. I've got huge expectations, not just for the two of you, but that entire room, because I personally think Kalani Sitake is one of the more brilliant college football coaches in the country. And so I know what he can do, and I know what your group is capable of, and I can't wait. I think it's one of the things I'm most excited about coming into the 2024 season. So good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go. The two receivers. Hopefully for the Cougars' sake, they have a good season. The ball gets down the field and in the end zone. That's the goal. I also got to talk some basketball. What are the Jazz going to do? They got the Russell Westbrook thing for Chris Dunn to sign and trade, and Westbrook's on his way to Denver, it looks like. The Jazz picked up a second-round pick player. I'm not sure he was going to make the team. But, marketing. I mean, that move we knew was coming. Marketing is the big move. We're going to talk to Andy Bailey, Bleacher Report reporter. We've had him on many times. Stay with us right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined by Andy Bailey, NBA writer and analyst for the Bleacher Report. Andy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back on. We figure you have now had a few Summer League games, and you've started to form opinions of the Jazz young guys. Now, obviously, 3 guys were in the league a year ago, and they've added 3 more rookies here. And I'm curious, if you had to rank them, if you were starting your own team, and you could get any one of those guys, which one would you take right now? Only one.
Ooh, that's tough. Out of the 6 that they've gotten in the last 2 years, I know that we have a pretty minuscule sample at this point for this particular guy, but I would probably go with Cody Williams. Just the versatility. I've always been a sucker for guys with multi-positional skill sets. I think he's a guy who can reasonably play at 2 or 3 different spots. I think there's some playmaking upside there. I don't know if we've seen a ton of it to this point, but I do think he has that in his game. He's a solid shooter who I think could become a really good shooter. For much of the history of the league, really, really good teams have been headlined by wings, and I think that's a factor here too. So I think I would probably go Cody Williams, but if given the chance, I'm sure I could make a case for other guys too. I mean, they suddenly have a pretty intriguing young core here to build with.
Yeah, but I think the bigger question is then, would you take Cody Williams or Bronny?
Man, that's going to be a real head scratcher.
No, it's not. It's crystal clear. I think that's an awesome story because I think right now at every high school in America, there are at least 50 dads who suddenly have something in common with LeBron. They overvalued their kid's talent.
Well,
and why wouldn't you? You're the dad. Of course you did. Yeah. If you don't, who else will?
Yeah. When my one of my older brothers was a varsity coach here in Cheyenne, Wyoming for years and years, and I saw a lot of what you just alluded to, and I had this brilliant business idea, and maybe somebody in Utah will steal it now. But I was going to set up a consulting firm where coaches, high school coaches from all over the country, just hire me to come in and explain to the parents that your son is not that
good. Easy street. That's the kind of job you just do 1 year, you take all the cash, then you sell the business, and you are retired, my man.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to get on an LLC or something, but yeah.
So I'm on a push of watching Summer League, obviously, because it's what we do for work. So I'm watching these games. And, I try to look for bright spots because, you're talking to fans of the team and you just don't want to crap on their team and it sucks and blah, blah, blah. If for no other reason, they'll switch the dial. So we want these teams to win. I'm sure you can understand that. And I am getting excited. I've been excited about Cody Williams. DJ can attest to. I told him before the season started at College Hoops, I said, watch this guy. So I've been pumping him all season long, and they've got the kid and see what he can do. But I'm a little, I guess I don't know the word, would be nervous that they banish these guys to the G League. And I get you got to earn your minutes and all that stuff. But for me, and get your thought on it, is that, and I want to see them play in the big leagues. And, if they're not ready, well, okay, they're not ready, but let them get ready, and to destroy the confidence. And I know Kobe Bryant's the extreme example, but he shot air balls here in Salt Lake City when he was a pup, and we all know what he did. So unleash him, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always been more of a proponent of on-court development. I think the more in-game, and when I say on-court development, I mean in the NBA, and I think the more reps they can get there, the better. And certainly there is some value to going down to the G League and getting reps there and being able to, potentially be more successful against those guys than you are against NBA defenders. Maybe it's a confidence-boosting thing. But I think even that's a balance, because there's at least some kind of a stigma with being sent down to the G League. So that could be a confidence hindrance as well. So for years and years, I've typically been, if you are on the road to being bad or being mediocre, you might as well play the young guys and see what you have and let them develop a little chemistry together, let them get those on-court reps. And maybe that's part of the argument to trade some of the veterans on this Jazz team, is to open up those minutes. I mean, if you're a coach in the NBA, your goal is always going to be to win. I mean, you look better when you win. So if given the opportunity, I think Will Hardy is going to play guys like Markkanen and John Collins, and Colin Sexton isn't really a veteran, but he is compared to the rest of this young core. He's going to want to get as many wins as possible, and that's understandable. But the better thing for the long-term future might be getting those 6 guys on the floor as much as you can, and see if 2 or 3 of them hit, sooner than later.
You didn't just pick 2 or 3. You think 2 or 3 are going to hit, and you think the others aren't. Please explain.
Well, I think that's just an odds thing. The chances of hitting on 6 straight draft picks is pretty low. It'd be an interesting thing to go back through history and see who had sort of the best draft streak. But even if you emerge from 2 straight years with 3 guys who are high-level rotation players, and maybe one of those 3 is a star, you've done pretty well. And then if the result of this season is a better lottery pick in a draft class that's supposed to be a lot better than this one was, then you're really kind of on the path to something. So if Kyle Filipowski is this interesting, versatile, can pass a little bit big man, and Cody Williams develops into what we've already talked about he could be, and maybe Keontae George keeps flourishing as sort of a shoot-first guard, and then all of a sudden you add Cooper Flagg to that mix, suddenly the team's pretty dang interesting in a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. What's your price for Markkanen?
I've gotten this question a few times. I was on a Warriors podcast maybe a couple weeks ago, and he obviously doesn't speak for the front office, but the host is Sam Esfandiari. He knows the team very, very well, and he was basically willing to give up every draft asset they had.
Really?
And if I'm the Jazz, I don't even know if I'm super hung up on Brandon Podziemski if they're willing to do that. I mean, if you get 4, 5, 6 draft picks and or swaps for Markkanen, that's really hard to turn down given where the team is. And every time I say this, I couch it by also saying I understand the other side of this argument. And there are some days when I think it's probably the smarter path to keep Markkanen. I mean, he's not that old. He does seem to enjoy being in Utah, and really talented guys like that. I mean, he's a fringe All-NBA player. They don't always just fall into your lap. And so if they want to continue to be like a low to mid to high 30s win team, keep hoping for hits in the middle of the lottery and kind of build that way, I think there is some justification there. But if I'm in the front office and a team like Golden State is offering me that much draft capital, I would be real tempted to say yes. And if they can get him to budge on Podziemski, I guess, reportedly that's the hang-up right now, and I kind of understand that too. I think he's a pretty versatile guard, another guy who can play multiple positions, another guy who has pretty good feel for the game. If Golden State eventually relents, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that move made.
Half a dozen draft picks, I'm very interested. I guess the question to answer, and maybe they've already answered, is how quickly are these Jazz guys going to develop? Because historically, you got to be 26, 27, 28 before you're really ready to win. Well, these guys are all 19 and 20. Markkanen isn't going to be very useful in 6, 7, 8 years. I'd be surprised if he's still at that elite level. But we have seen some guys, and maybe we've seen a few more lately, who are ready to win 22, 23, 24. They're actually pretty good. Markin is still in his prime at that point. How much does that shape your thought on the trade? How quickly these young guys are ready to go?
Yeah, I think that's I think that's an important consideration, and I think that sort of tips the scales towards trade, because I would lean more towards your first take that it's probably going to be 25, 26 before they're ready to win at a real high level. But those proponents of keeping Markkanen could counter and say, well, if these guys show flashes before they're 21, 22, then you can package a couple of them and maybe a couple of the picks from Utah's very deep stash and add another star to Markkanen. That we heard earlier in the summer, and who knows how serious he was, the whole big game hunting comment. That's going to be on the table for the Jazz for the foreseeable future, because they got such big hauls for Mitchell and Gobert. So there are a bunch of different paths Danny Ainge could go down. And maybe it's the way I lean with a lot of young teams. Frankly, when I see a lot of young talent, I want to see which ones are good. And so my natural inclination is play all these guys, trade the veterans, and see what you got. And that can be kind of a vicious cycle to get into if none of them do turn into stars. But that's kind of where my head is at on the whole situation right now.
Yeah, you look at these teams that are off the radar a little bit and need to build through their own, and go with OKC as a classic example. And Denver's done that to a degree too. Also, they've made another bunch of moves, and OKC looks like they're set up to win and drafted well. But they were able to get what would you say, an under-realized, underappreciated player who's turning into a star, and that's SGA. And they've done it with Markkanen to a degree. I'd put SGA a little bit higher just because he's playing in a winning environment. Do you think that Ainge can pull that off again? Because if he can pull that off again and find somebody somewhere who's on the verge of being a star, but he's either too young or the situation isn't right, and if you got that type of player, gave up some picks, combined with the players you've already drafted, then I think you're onto something.
Yeah, I think that's a very viable path, and I think the two teams you identified are really good examples of how it's good to be smart, obviously, as a front office, but to be really good, to become a title contender almost every single time, it takes luck, because nobody imagined SGA when the Clippers traded him to the Thunder would become a top 2 MVP finisher within 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been. I guess it's been 5 years. His trajectory, not even the Thunder could have seen that coming. And then obviously with Jokic, nobody thought that the number 41 pick in the draft would be a 3-time MVP. And Utah, to a degree, can claim a little bit of luck with Markkanen, because I don't think anybody expected him to be quite what he's been for Utah. I mean, he was a solid player with the Cavs and the Bulls, but he had bona fide all-NBA cases for part of the last 2 seasons. So maybe they've already gotten a bit of luck there, and they can get sort of an unrealized asset, as you described it, which I think is a perfect description. And maybe one of these 6 draft picks are that guy, because none of them were picked in the top 5, obviously. Some of them have already had their value depreciate over the course of their basketball lives, like Cody Williams, Kyle Filipowski, and Isaiah Collier were all top 5 high school prospects in their respective classes, and they, by the time they were drafted, were not considered that anymore. So maybe their pedigree sort of shines through again as they develop with an NBA team as opposed to a college system. So you have to take big swings as a front office, and a lot of them are going to miss, but you'll have a few that hit better than you expected, and that's typically how teams become really, really good, is they have one that just sort of outperforms expectations.
Under that whole theory of front offices are trying to play chess, not checkers, and in sports talk radio and blogs and podcasts and whatever else, tweets, people are mostly playing checkers. We mostly examine the next square in front of us.
Yep.
But I've read a fascinating thing, and I think the Jazz are trying to do this, that yes, you're trying to build a team now. Yes, you're trying to build a team in 3 or 4 years. But I think the rest of the league is looking at what Denver went through. And they're the best example most recently, but they're not the only one. That you get a team, maybe the Warriors to a degree, you get a team, you draft well, and now it's time to pay your guys. Well, you got to pay your guys the max or you lose them, but you've got the collective bargain agreement just won't let you pay 3 guys. I guess Oklahoma City was the first team to go through it. They traded Harden when Harden, Westbrook, and Durant looked like they could dominate the league for a decade. And they traded Harden because of the financial penalties. So now the theory is, yes, right now the Jazz are trying to identify 3 stars, but they're also trying to build up resources so that inevitably when they can't pay all 3 and they have to move one, they still have a chance to draft in the first half of the first round. Presumably they'll be good and be drafting 25th. And they can do a pick swap with Minnesota or Cleveland or the Warriors or whoever and get another player the way the Lakers got Kawhi and extend the thing out 5 more years. Now, they haven't spelled it out that precisely, but when they say they want to open a championship window and keep it open, it doesn't feel like the Nuggets championship window is staying open despite the greatness of their best player. So maybe they have to move Markkanen if they're going to build up the picks so that their peak isn't confined to 2 to 3 years because they can't pay everybody.
Yeah, I think there's something to everything you just said there. It's especially in the new collective bargaining agreement with all these different aprons and taxes and all this stuff we got to learn about. It's borderline impossible to keep an organically built team together for more than, I'm going to say, like 2 or 3 years. Like we'll get a better view of how impactful this CBA is over the next few years, and the rising cap may change that a little bit. I mean, the cap's going to keep bumping up year
10%
after year after year.
every single year thanks to the new TV deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe it's not going to – this very well may be the harshest it ever feels is this summer. But when we start seeing the max contracts 5 years from now, they're still going to take up the same percentage of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's teams are going to be squeezed, and teams are going to have to be very forward-looking to keep the title window open, as you said. And Denver, there was a big profile on their general manager in the Ringer towards the end of last summer, and he was very open and honest about his philosophy that they were going to have to hit on first-round picks. And if their window is going to be open, some of those guys that they've taken in the last couple of years have to be ready. Like Christian Brown is probably going to be a starter for them this season, and if he's ready to be that, they can be a contender, and if he's not, it's going to be a lot harder for them. So it puts a lot more importance on the draft. I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see maybe some more guys who have a couple of years of experience taken. I think hoarding of picks is something that's going to be a prioritization of a lot of front offices. Like there are going to be different approaches to how to, survive under this CBA, but it's something that every team's going to have to figure out, including the Jazz. So if, again, we keep mentioning these 6 guys, and best case scenario, if 4 of them turn out to be really good players, you probably can't pay all of them, and you're back to the drawing board or back to the draft to find guys who'll fill out your rotation. So the NBA has wanted, I think, increased parity for years and years and years, and they've found a very, very complicated way to do it, but I think they are doing it.
Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark?
Oh, man. I don't know if you saw this, but somebody asked me to do one of my blind polls on them it's probably been a couple weeks ago now, and Angel Reese actually won it, which was surprising to me. And it's probably just because Caitlin Clark's turnover numbers were so high.
Yeah, because her teammates can't catch the ball.
Exactly. And you can't tell that from my little silly blind polls on Twitter, obviously. But even when I first saw the results, I think I said something afterward. This is one of the rare occasions where I actually disagree with the poll, because her playmaking is pretty crazy, and that's something that I value at any level of basketball, is people who can be offensive engines and make other players better. And she had 19 assists last night.
Yeah, record setting. She's a rook.
She's a spectacular playmaker and potentially game changer. I mean, I could probably take potentially off.
I think you can.
She can change that league. They just got a big new media rights deal. I think it's like 4 times the value of the
They rolling in it now, man.
$200 million per year.
Yeah, that's my way of saying I'll go with Clark, and I honestly don't think it's all that close. And one of my this is going to sound mean, but one of my favorite things to track right now in basketball is Angel Reese's field goal percentage. It's I think people put too much weight on Clark's turnovers and not enough on Angel Reese's missed shots in that poll. So I'm going to go with Clark.
I think Clark is a combination of Bird, Magic, and Steph Curry.
You don't see any Kobe in that game praise. At all, huh?
Now
Can you
back off a
sprinkle in
little
some
bit.
Steve Nash in there?
Yeah, what the heck? Why not?
Might as well.
All right, Andy, we appreciate it. As always, you keep watching those Jazz young guys, and when the front office inevitably makes some kind of trade, I got to believe there's something coming.
I agree.
You can't go from big game hunting to nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
Drew Eubanks, fellas.
From big game hunting to nothing.
He is big. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and he plays a game.
You can't go from... All right, I'll stop. We will bother you again, Andy. Please hold a spot in your future schedule for us.
Okay, I always enjoy coming on.
That was Andy Bailey. Thanks for him for coming on the show. Coming up next, get your What's Trending. And we got a lot of football to talk about and some basketball. Stay with us right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is What's Trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
I didn't even know how that moment really was going to hit, even when we got named to the team. But the moment when we walked in the room and you actually saw Kareem, you actually saw Jerry West, Magic. You're like, oh, I'm on this team.
It was live talking in there, too.
The talking in the room was crazy, but the moment was when MJ came in that mother.
We're talking about aura.
Let me tell you something, when he walked through, everything changed. Man, when MJ came in, it gets silenced. Everybody was like, oh.
And he sizing up from the tunnel.
Right away.
Man, I'd have bust your like, he sizing everybody up.
You saw the clip with him and Magic that went viral, right? That was right away. I was just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm listening to Jordan and Magic talk.
Really talk, though.
Put your sneaks on, let's go right now.
I'll tell you up right now.
Oh, they serious.
They serious? That's Dwayne Wade, Jazz owner Dwayne Wade with the potty mouth.
And Mello.
And Camilla Anthony. Talking, reminiscing about MJ and his trash talking to them. Good times were had by them guys. they serious, man. What more needs to be said? We gonna whip they backside. I like it. It was fun to get back. Those guys, they're fortunate enough. The rest of us losers, we reminisce about high school ball or church ball or city rec league. They're talking about the Olympics and the NBA because they were outstanding players, and they get to reminisce about just about a little bit of a higher level than us. All right, good for them. The Jazz Summer League went down to the Clippers 105-88. The law of numbers, as Matt Harpring would say, not the law of averages, the law of numbers caught up to our guy Taylor Hendricks. One game after going 9 of 10, he goes 2 of 10. So that would be what? 11 for 20. That's still good. Collier looking good. 20 points. 8 of 13. Missed both 2 of 3s. Missed a couple of free throws. Cody Williams, okay. 10 points. Only took 9 shots. Filipowski, 24 minutes. 13 boards, 5 rebounds. That's good. I'm still intrigued. Still excited about what those guys can bring. I don't follow this. Nerd Boy, he would be here to tell us. But he's been grounded today. I see what I done there, Yak?
Nice. By the way, if you're at Salt Lake International Airport, you have our condolences because apparently flights are all kinds of messed up today.
Yeah, that sucks, man. People got travel plans, and a lot of them trying to get on vacation, get to work, or you gotta go to a friend's wedding, or
and you likely are grounded, as you mentioned.
Family member is sick, whatever it is. It's not funny at all by any stretch. So are they? So they got one more game and then they're done, right?
Yeah, but we have
guaranteed 5.
We have not been told when they will be playing. Right. It'll either be tomorrow or Sunday.
Right. So we'll pay attention to that and talk about it on Monday, and then we'll see if there's any moves. They made a move. They finalized that sign and trade deal with Chris Dunn that had been out there for about a month or so with the Clippers. Russell Westbrook, again, he's back.
Second time in 18 months.
Now they're talking about he'll be bought out and shipped over to Denver. He'll head over there. At a 2030 second-round pick swap, because I think that's what the Clippers have as far as what's available.
Correct.
And then I got no idea how to pronounce his name.
I just call him Balsa.
Yeah. Balsa. Yeah.
He was the 57th pick in the 2021 draft, and his rights have been traded like 4 times in that span.
Koprivica.
Not as good as I would have done.
And $4.3 million in cash. Zach Baked Edey, man. Consensus favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Those French guys at the top are laying eggs in the Summer League. Zach Baked Edey. Looking okay. Bronny James has more bets on him to win the award than any other player. Come on. He garnered nearly 25% of all the bets placed on the Roy, which is Rookie of the Year, on ESPN's BET platform. Well, that says it all, and I best move on.
Hashtag NFL.
Yeah, I watch a little bit of everybody around the league. I watch Buffalo, I watch the Rams, I watch Minnesota, I watch Kansas City. Lions are a great team to watch offensively. So I learn from everybody. But yeah, Steph is somebody who definitely can open up your playbook, but we have all of those guys around. He'll say that too, so it's 5-headed monster, so it's definitely super dope to have, just a bunch of options.
That's Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud talking about the options, the 5-headed monster that he's got. He's got Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Schultz, our guy here, played his high school ball here at Tankdale, Nico Collins. That's a lot of talent there offensively for sure. And C.J. Stroud, how great can he become? That's the question, because I think he's going to be really good. He was unbelievable last year for a first-year kid, and he's just going to go nuts. I would look for them, as KC ages out, which is not yet, obviously. Would they be a team that could jump up there and take their place? Possibility. When you got a talent at quarterback like C.J. Stroud, yes, it's most definitely a possibility. Ravens QB Lamar Jackson is challenging Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman's use of their shared number 8 in a U.S. Patent and Trademark Office complaint. Jackson, who has applied for several trademarks using the number in various phrases, says Aikman's attempt to use 8 on apparel and bags would be, quote, likely to cause confusion, cause mistake, or to deceive, close quote, the purchasing public on whether they're buying products from Jackson or Aikman. What to do about that? I do not know. I'd have to let it wind its way through the court system.
I assume there will be an agreement at some point that'll settle it up.
Well, why don't you have 8 all uppercase, 8 lowercase, 8 begin with the E uppercase, have it lowercase and everybody else? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Or how about just ATE? Get it?
Yeah,
May they all get rich or richer. All right, college football, we've got some interesting sound coming up. I heard that yesterday.
Hashtag college football.
I was going through a deep depression over this incorrect guilt that you tried to lay on me, which preceded that move. Had something to do with Southern California.
Oh, yeah. When you got me fired at USC, I got myself fired at USC, but you didn't help.
It's a better story if I got you fired.
You really did. Because it is a true story that the athletic director and the president were on that trip. We were playing that night, and you were on College game day, and you had to make your big splash, and they were watching it, because I know the other person in the room that was watching it with them. And you said what a joke I was, and I'm the Miley Cyrus of college football coaching, and I should be fired. And they looked at each other, and later that night I was fired. So, but hey, look what happened. I would have never gotten to work for Coach Saban. All these other things wouldn't happen. So I appreciate you for helping getting me fired. Thank you.
Look at what you're doing today. You're predicted to go to the playoffs. And look at Miley Cyrus. She's had a nice comeback.
So you're wrong on that. I mean, you putting me down with that. So really, I don't really know what you're good at. Like you predicted that Coach Saban was done. That didn't happen. You basically said Miley Cyrus stinks, and she's still going.
Yeah.
Oh man, Lane Kitten taking a wrecking ball to Paul Stink Feinbaum yesterday. Was that SEC Media Day, I assume?
Correct. It's final day of SEC Media Days yesterday, and Lane Kiffin was taking no prisoners.
Nah, a wrecking ball. Miley Cyrus, see what I done there?
Yeah. Flew in like a wrecking ball. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Sing away. Make some chops of yourself singing.
How about no?
10 years from now, when I'm gone, you can be the singer, the replacement singer.
My producer at that time will be sure to do that.
Then they can have ads. Listen to Jake Hatch sing. Shebang, shebang.
No.
Yeah. Well, Feinbaum, I don't know what he's good at, but he's good at drawing paychecks and talking about SEC football. He's been doing it for a good while now, obviously. And it is official. Utah State's coach, Blake Anderson, has been fired by the university 2 weeks after informing him of its intent to terminate him because of alleged actions in 2023 that the school said violated his contract and university policy. The school cited, quote, significant violations related to the reporting requirements for all Utah State employees and failure to manage a team in a manner that reflects USU's academic values. And Anderson's attorney, Tom Mars, who's apparently of note in this field, had a statement on X that said all available legal remedies will be pursued by the school. Against the school, not by the school, against the school. He said that they had was back in July 2nd, that the press release by Utah State was deliberately inflammatory. So, and we know Nick Dreiling has taken over. He was the defensive coordinator there at New Mexico State, and now he's going to try to get this thing going.
Now, Ike Larson put out a statement last night. 'Cause a lot of people thought once this went down, the 30-day window for the transfer portal would open, he'd be a likely person to bolt. But he put a statement out last night that essentially called out the administration for the moves they have made, but also indicated that he planned on sticking around.
Right. I just said that in the last segment, that is true, that's what it looks like reading his social media post, which is good news for the Aggies if you want them to win, because he's one of their better players. There's no question about that. So I think that is going to be a long and windy road before we find out. Jerry Bovee is caught up in that. Our friend Jerry Bovee, and wish him well as far as that goes, and he intends to pursue what's available to him also, as most, I assume, the others will too. And, of course, Nick Saban, he's done. Oh, man, it's going to be naming the playing field for him at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do for Whittingham. You know, he's going to retire as the winningest coach. That's a fact.
Rice Eccles Whittingham Stadium? Kyle Whittingham Field at Rice Eccles Stadium?
I don't know. I think maybe the legs machine. Got those calves rocking it.
The calf raise memorial.
Yeah. We'll see. He's not done yet, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to MLB.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
It's back. Yeah. Watching my previews on, I guess not previews, but just the free baseball on direct for the next week or so. And the Cubs and the Dodgers, how about this? This 2025 season came out. I was looking at it, And, of course, both of them have multiple Japanese players on their roster. Shohei, but Yamamoto, who's been hurt, Suzuki, and Imanaga. Yeah, and then they've got all-stars there. They're going to open the season in Tokyo. That's an unbelievable marketing opportunity.
Are we going to the Tokyo Dome, PK?
Yeah, I don't. What's the currency in Japan? Is it
the yen?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be off the charts, I would think. I mean these. It looks like Shohei for Cooperstown is just virtually a lock, and we'll see those other guys. No big surprise now that stars in Japan come over here and do well. That's been going on for a good while, many years now. So we'll see. That'll be something. I assume that will be broadcast back here. I don't know what the time difference is.
It's going to be March 18th and 19th. They played in South Korea this past year, and it ended up being a morning first pitch here stateside. It'll be a similar circumstance with them playing in Tokyo. But as you mentioned, with as many stars as both of those two franchises have, those are two obviously brand names that they'd be happy to put on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see, what was it? I saw an all-star at the all-star games. Somebody, when Shohei came up to bat, an Asian woman had a sign said, I traveled like 7,770 miles to come see you play.
Something like that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And did you see that what was it, in the seventh inning when they hold up the things for cancer? That they had, you seen that they hold up
stand up to cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Bruce Bochy had a guy named Larry Eubanks, and Larry Eubanks, when I got a teacher certificate and student taught at Deer Valley High School in I think it's either Phoenix or Glendale. Well, one of the guys there that I knew very, very well was Larry Eubanks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And my sister was a junior high principal. His wife taught at the Prince School where my sister hired her. And Larry, they got to know each other because Larry played minor league baseball. And Bochy was his teammate. And they've kept a friendship all these years.
And he's honoring him.
Yeah, and he has thyroid cancer. He has stage 4 thyroid cancer.
Jeez, so
the Arizona Republic did a story on it.
Okay. Still really cool, though, to see Bochy, after everything that he's accomplished in his career, still stumping for his guy.
And I helped coach baseball, and Larry was the JV baseball coach. And then after I left, became the varsity baseball coach for a number of years. Won a state title, put some guys in the big leagues and all that stuff. So Larry Eubanks, that was a blast from the past, because there was a time that, and then we both had jobs at Phoenix Parks and Rec too. We worked together. We had this truck that transformed to a stage, so we go to parks and they do presentations or concerts on the stage or whatever. We were in charge of setting up and tearing down the stage, and there was about 4 or 5 of us, and Larry was one of them. So there was a time that I was really close to Larry, and I saw that. My sister alerted me to that and then sent me the story. So a little sidelight there in baseball. Oakland Athletics executive Sandy Dean told the Las Vegas Stadium Authority on Thursday the club does not expect to spend the entire $380 million in public money allocated to build a new stadium in Las Vegas. He said the A's plan to spend $350 million of those funds, leaving $30 million on the table. He also told the authority that the club plans to finance $300 million of the stadium costs, but no lenders have been secured. The other $850 million needed to build the $1.5 billion stadium would come from private equity. And in another stadium news that could affect Utah's attempt to bring a expansion team, the Rays, they're on track to get their long-sought new ballpark. Finally, the city council vote yesterday on a development project that guarantees the team will stay where it is for at least 30 years. And so the whole idea on that was that the two teams that were in need of stadiums get their stadium taken care of, and then Manfred, the commissioner, said they would go for expansion. So we shall see, man. If those two situations are settled, and MLB coming to Utah, what's that, Big League Utah?
Yeah, Big Utah, the consortium of leaders who were kind of spearheading the effort, led by the Larry H. Miller Group.
That'd be so awesome. No doubt about it. Salt Lake Bees open a series in Las Vegas tonight. First pitch, 8:05 on the air at 7:50.
Hashtag RSL.
It's not going to be an easy game, just like this one wasn't an easy game. And I just want to see the type of resilient, committed performance, because the truth is every team in this league is a super difficult opponent. There's just no easy game in this league. And the moment you think, oh, we're in a good position, this is going to be an easy game, Colorado's been playing great. They've been great at home this year. So our approach is like no other, right? We get some fresh legs. However, that's not going to make the difference. The mindset of the collective on the field is going to make the difference. And that's, something that we learned about ourselves tonight, and we'll continue to learn about ourselves. But the response and the reaction puts us in a good position to now go to Colorado with a great mindset and hopefully put forth the same type of performance.
That's Pablo Mastroianni, head coach there, obviously, at RSL, talking about that tie that they had with LAFC the other night. And now they've got Colorado. It's the final matchup of the Rocky Mountain Cup. All right. First kick at 7:30. The coverage right here on the Zone begins at 6:30. You doing it tomorrow?
I will be there tomorrow, yep.
Okay. 7:30 tomorrow. What's Colorado's record, do you know?
They are 5 points behind RSL right now, so they're right up there in the mix, too.
Yeah,
and
still.
Whoever wins this wins the Rocky Mountain Cup. It's been a fairly competitive series so far this season.
Ride the freak on. And Yachts Royals?
Yeah, my Royals, correct.
They're going to play in the NWSL Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup Tournament tonight in Seattle against the Reign. Now, of course, that's REIGN. Coverage on the Zone will begin at 6:30 with first kick for 7. You can do that?
I am not on that one tonight.
Oh. All right, let's move on.
Hashtag golf.
Go ahead.
Golf. The British, the Open, as they say over there. Shane Lowry, I should have picked him, man. I picked him for the U.S. Open.
So I wrote this right as we were about to go on air. Shane Lowry is now a sole leader at 6 under par. He's through 16 holes.
I'm looking at it right now. He's 1 under. He was 5 under yesterday. Somebody named Daniel Brown, Justin Rose. Brown 5 under. He is +1 today, and Justin Rose is -1 today. Billy Horschel moving up a little bit. He shot a 68 today, and Dean Burmeister shot a 69. Jason Day, 68. Cantlay, my guy, I didn't pick him, 68.
Lowry just missed what would have been another birdie, but he was walking it in and it missed by inches.
You're not supposed to walk it in. Tony Finau, who was even yesterday, teeing off right about now. He should be literally on the first tee as we speak. We'll see what's going on. Bunch of guys, we talked about it yesterday. We'll talk about it here coming up right now after the break. But Brian Taylor, he'll join us. So let's just go on, and we'll move on from that. And that is what is trending. It's brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. We'll talk about golf in the British Open or the Open with Brian Taylor coming up after the break. And then at the top of the hour, David Locke. Jake Scott's going to join us. So stay with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Maybe Indiana's a place where you can have metal-piercing bullets. Can't imagine those are legal anywhere. Maybe they are. Metal-piercing bullets? Jeez. What are you facing? What's the guy with a metal suit?
The Tin Man?
No. The guy from Weird Science plays him. Something Junior. He wears a metal suit. And, like I was going to say...
RoboCop?
No. It's a guy that wears metal and flies around.
The Rocket Man. Rocketeer, sorry.
We've given you so many guys with metal suits.
You're not close.
I'm sorry. Why are you mad at us? You
how
look
did you get
it?
it?
Okay. Yeah, but I
Man in metal suit.
Iron Man.
Oh,
how did you guys not get Iron Man?
All the Iron Man I could think of.
Come up with 30 things with guys dressed in metal. 30.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Catch 30 Seconds to Mars on the Seasons World Tour 2024 with special guest AFI as they make a stop at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 30th. Get your tickets now at livenation.com or listen to The Zone all day on Tuesday, July 23rd for your chance to win. All right, man. A lot of stuff to talk about. We will get to it all. We're going to talk a little golf right now. Man, we were talking about this yesterday with DJ. He's off for a couple of days. Wow. Would you imagine living over there in Scotland, way that far north, being that cold all the time? Or does it sound really good right now because it's so freaking hot? Every day, 100+ degrees. Can you play golf in 100 degrees? Yeah, I think I can. All right, let's get Brian Taylor on right now.
This Uinta Golf Open Championship update is brought to you by Mountain Land Supply, Zions Bank, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Siegfried and Jensen. And now, Real Golf Radio's Brian Taylor.
Brian Taylor joining us. Brian, good morning. How the heck are you?
Morning, PK. How come we're not out playing golf?
I got this job I got to do.
I know. Me too.
I play in a men's league, and they know on Tuesdays down there at River Oaks, we go at 11 o'clock. And one of the guys who joined late, well, why aren't we going at 7? Because there's one of the guys who can't do it then. And that'd be me.
So you dictate it. You're like the chairman. You're the commissioner.
Well, we got a guy who's the ringleader, and then he asked me if I wanted to join. This is probably 6-7 years ago. I said, sure. And then we've picked up a couple other guys since then, and the other guy didn't know why he picked him up, why we waited as late as we did. And so we had to tell him, well, one of the founding members of the league.
I love it.
Can't go until
the founding members.
Later in the day. So he said, oh, okay. So we got the projected cut right now at +4, which gives some guys who maybe didn't play very well in day one an opportunity. But one of those guys, most likely, isn't our guy, Rory McIlroy. And I saw a thing on social media. What did he? Was he like +42 yesterday?
Yeah, 43, I think. Yeah, 43 over. Yeah.
And so they showed a shot of him hitting a putt, and it went way left. Yada yada. And they said, "Get this guy to a therapist ASAP." You buying that?
I guess I'm not quite there. He struggled yesterday. A lot of guys struggled yesterday. Let's see what he does today. I'm not ready to call it a mental block for Rory after blowing the U.S. Open. And it's not even really fair to say he blew the U.S. Open. I know he missed those putts, but it was, Bryson missed a short putt too, and then he just pulled off a heroic shot at the 18th, and Rory wasn't able to capitalize his heroic shot. And that's golf. That happens. Sometimes the shots go, sometimes they don't. Not really. I know it's been 10 years. I get that. That stuff's got to pile up. It's got to cause some baggage, scar tissue, all those things. I get that. I just think, Rory's been playing some pretty good golf, and, let's see. Like you mentioned the cuts at 4. It's probably going to go up a little bit. Might get to 5. And he's +7, and he hasn't teed off yet. And the weather, I think, is actually supposed to get a little bit better this afternoon. So let's see.
Yeah, he tees off at 8:10 our time, and he is +7. So that's what I was saying. We were talking yesterday with Bob and thinking guys like Thigalo's +6. There's some fairly big names. Fowler +6, Zalatoris +5, Homa +5, DeChambeau +5, Fleetwood. But I think that, if the weather does cooperate a little bit and they get their mojo back, that there's some guys who can make the cut. I don't know that if they can be in a situation to contend, but stranger things have happened over there because would you say, is it fair to say out of the 4 majors, this one has the potential to be the most unpredictable?
100%. First of all, it's the most wide open. It's got all kinds of elements that come into play, as we've talked about, weather, bounces on the fairways, that kind of thing. And it happens to be, speaking of, it's the 25th anniversary of Jean Van de Velde's finest moments. So if you want to say, if anything can happen, the guy's got a 3-shot lead playing the final hole at Carnoustie, And he just, everybody remembers he made a complete mess out of it and ended up getting into a playoff and losing. But that has to go down as the all-time biggest fist pump for a final hole triple bogey I've ever seen. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about golf and things happen. You just look at Justin Thomas. What was he, 5 under yesterday, and today he's +5 through 5.
Yeah, I think what did he finish at 3? I don't think he got to 5. I think he came back to 3 at the end of the day. Yeah, and he's currently +2, 5 over par today, which is, it's tough. Yesterday he kind of had it going, and he got in trouble in the middle of the round, and then went birdie to finish to get back to 3 under, and at the time was the clubhouse leader, and then. Today has been a different story. He's gotten right out of the gate struggling. I mean, he parred the opening hole, and then it's bogey, right? So just that quickly, Justin Rose went from, everybody talking about him to everyone forgetting about him. But there's still plenty. Like I said, this wind's caught everybody off guard. They didn't see this wind all week, this south wind, the way it's been blowing. And what it's done is it's taken these outward 6-8 holes where you can normally take advantage of them and get some numbers, kind of put some insurance in the bank before you have to make the turn and fight the tough holes coming in. It's taken that away. And the interesting thing is that I was listening to the broadcast this morning is that Shane Lowry, he made a little scouting trip over here. It's a 40-minute flight or whatever, 30-minute flight from Northern Ireland where he lives. And he came over and played, and it just happened to be this exact same wind a week or two ago when he took a little scouting. So he's seen this. A lot of the other guys haven't, and he's playing some good golf. So, again, you talk about luck of the draw, you talk about luck of the bounce, what the weather does for you, all of those kind of things are going to come into play. Now, it'll be interesting. Making the cut on the weekend, things are going to change just a little bit. The winds are supposed to die almost down completely tomorrow, and it's just going to be kind of a steady drizzle. So and I was thinking about it, would you rather play – in like a steady drizzle but no wind, or dry conditions and fight these 25, 35 mile an hour gusts blowing across complete? Like, you got to figure if you're playing golf on like a basketball court, and the wind is just howling across it, and you're trying to control your golf ball and try to keep it somewhere between the lines. Like, that seems somewhat more daunting than playing with less wind and having a little drizzly rain. So it's fun. I mean, that's the Open, right?
Yeah. Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, joining us. The guys I've spoken to, and I don't speak to these big-time pros on a regular basis like you do, but, I've spoken to some pros over the years that they will tell you that it's pretty much anything but wind. I mean, you don't want the torrential rainfall, obviously, but you're probably not playing in the torrential rainfall where, unless it's an unusual situation with the wind, they are not postponing it. You're not going to hear the sirens go off, so you're going to be able to play in the drizzle, and you've got your rain gear, and everybody knows that when you go over there, that's probably what you're going to get anyway. So at least mentally, you're prepared for that with rain. But I just think the wind can really just mess you up. So there's no doubt that people would rather play in the drizzle, because I'm not so sure that really affects their game at all.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just keeping the grips dry, right? That's the caddy. The caddy's job gets a little more challenging in the rain, but otherwise, yeah, for sure. It's, those guys can manage that. The thing that the wind does, especially where these greens might be, let's just call it, 100, 250 feet or whatever it happens to be. They're probably a little bigger than that. But your effective spot to land it on some of these a little smaller than that, just because of the way they careen one way or another.
Right.
And then you got these bunkers that are waiting for them. But the thing that the wind does is it exposes the miss. And so if you've got a little miss going and it's with the wind, it becomes a big miss, right? And it's one of those things that it identifies. I mean, it's a great equalizer. The guys that are controlling their ball and controlling it well, they can show off and stand out a little bit, And since we've been talking, I mean, look, Shane Lowry is up to 7 under par, which is fantastic. I mean, that guy's obviously playing some good golf, and that's, as I've been working this morning and typing up and getting ready for, kind of storyline. Shane Lowry, I've been doing all my homework on Shane, and I think Shane Lowry is such a cool story because he won the Open and it was a dramatic win in 2019. And he's the champion golfer of the year, and then COVID hit. And it's almost like he got forgotten, right? Because the things were shutting down, and he didn't really get his victory lap. And And since that time, I think he's only had, let's see, I wrote this down. He's won twice since that Open win, and he got the BMW Championship in 2022, and then he got this year's Zurich Classic with Rory in a team event. And he's had just 3 top 10s in majors. So for him to go out there and should he go on to win again, to be a 2-time winner of the Claret Jug, now he's done it not only as – and by the way, they're going back to Portrush, I think, next year. And then here he is winning it at Troon and kind of a little bit more pomp and circumstance for it, a little more victory lap, a little more enjoyable without the whole world shutting down. I don't know. I just think it's kind of a cool story what Shane Lowry's doing.
Plus, if he's there on Sunday, the crowd will be nuts.
100%. Yeah, he's a likable guy.
He really is. It seems like he's having fun out there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And I can appreciate that because these guys get to play golf for a living. And I know it's a grind, but at the same time, you got to. And Rory said that going into this tournament. I saw him on a statement that, hey, I have to look back at my accomplishments. And basically, I'm paraphrasing now, this isn't life or death. So I need to ease up a little bit and have some fun. That worried me a little bit. But I get his point.
That's what golfers tell themselves when they're struggling, right?
Right. Yeah. So I wonder, if it was it a rationalization, or was it something? I would prefer he said that coming off a win, rather than where he's trying to grind so hard that it gets into his head and so forth. It seems like the mental game right now might be wrapping him up a little bit, but he needs to relax, and all of us need to relax when you play the game. And I realize this is their job, obviously, but still have some fun with it. And it does seem like Shane Lowry has that in perspective, and it would be cool to see him win.
Yeah, like I said, it's I typically am an American golf fan, even though, but these Europeans, they play over here, they live over here, and Shane Lowry is just one of the likable guys. Like I'm telling you, if you can't like Shane Lowry, I don't even know what you're doing, because he's a fun guy. And even in the middle of the dust up that happened with Rory and with Patrick Cantlay and his caddy at the Ryder Cup last year, Shane Lowry was the one in there, he was the bouncer, right? He was trying to break it all up, and He was the one that pulled Rory back in the car when he started yelling at Bones at the end. He's just and he kind of even had a little laugh about it. As he realized that Rory was super hot, but he was just kind of chuckling wow, this is kind of funny, and got a little out of control. And he's a guy you just want to hang. If you were to pick a guy to go play golf 18 holes with, he would be a riot, and we'd love to play golf with Shane Lowry. So to me, he's easy to root for.
So what you're saying, when it comes to majors and rooting, you take the slogan of American first?
I tend to, yeah. I don't know that there's any harm in that.
Nobody said there was any harm in that, which then means that you probably have to root for Scheffler because he's the top American again.
Yeah, he's easy to root for, too. I mean, he's a likable guy, too. He's an aw shucks, kind of guy out there just doing his thing. But, yeah, I mean, you see, Billy Ho come in there and get 300 today and was the top American, and then Scheffler's just kind of making his charge. He just pounded in a really nice birdie putt at 14, got another one at 16, and it looks like in par 17 coming in. Let's see what he can do on 18 if he drops another one. But he's just right there in position and tied for third, and he's won 6 of his last 10 starts. I mean, the guy's the best player on the planet, and he's the best ball striker in the planet, and all the things we've talked about. And so come the most difficult conditions, at the end of the day, it's about controlling your golf ball. And I've seen Scott, he's been out of position a bunch of different times, but he sure made a lot out of it when he has, and he hasn't dropped big numbers yet. So but this thing's wide open. Lowry, we talked about this. Lowry could run away and hide, but I don't see that happening, right? I mean, he's only at 7 at the halfway point. As I went through the events that have been played here, the championships that have been played here at Portrush, at Royal Troon. You've got Stenson won at 20 under par in 2016, which was kind of an anomaly. You got Watson shooting 4 under, but then you get Palmer's was 12, Weiskopf was 12, Leonard was 12, Calcavecchia was 13, Todd Hamilton was 10. So you kind of look at all of those guys. It's kind of that 10 to 13 number that you're probably trying to get at. And look, Larry's right in the middle of that at 7 at the halfway point. So guys got to be looking at, what do I need to do to get 10, 11, 12 and give myself a chance? So Tony teeing off right now, he's at even par. You figure he's probably got to get to at least 3 or 4, by the end of the day to try to kind of give himself a chance. If it continues to go there, if the score is kind of hovering, it gets tougher and it stays around that 7-8 number, well, then he can kind of chip away at it 2 or 3 at a time. So, but yeah, it's I don't think anyone's going Henrik Stenson on us and going to shoot 63 in the final round and extend and get way out ahead of everyone.
Well, the good thing is if Scheffler wins, the kid isn't going to be there, is he? They didn't make the trip, did they?
You don't like seeing the family gushy stuff?
Come on,
is that what you're
man.
saying?
You act like you're the only one who's had a kid? Jeez.
It is a little funny the way that they ask. Like Brooks got the questions at the Masters, and then Scotty got all the questions at the Open, the U.S. Open, everything.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hey, how's your game changed? How do you think you'll play better as a dad? Da, 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 da. And there was a lot of guys like you sitting next to me that were eye rolling in those interviews, saying, like, really, no one's ever been a dad before.
All right, Brian, we got to run. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the Open the rest of the way.
All right, you do as well. Good to talk to you, PK. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Okay, that's Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio. You can hear them Saturday mornings, he and Bob Casper, right when the tournament is going on. David Locke coming up in about 15 minutes. Stay with us right here, right on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Could you imagine the conference having Clemson and Florida State? I'm telling you, that's an awesome ad if they were able to get those teams. And talk about trying to be some of the best conferences in the country. It's really, really wild stuff.
It's not a secret at all that Florida State and Clemson are very disgruntled, very unhappy in the ACC. I mean, they basically filed a lawsuit, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to get out of the grant of rights deal so that they can move on. The Big 12 makes perfect sense for them. The Big Ten's already loaded with 18. The SEC, they're quiet on this. I don't know that I think the Florida State and Clemson would already be in the SEC if they were wanted there. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But what conference is being proactive right now? What conference has been aggressive? What conference is talking big? Brett Yormark, the Big 12.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Band of the day today is Queen, as Brian May celebrates his 77th birthday, and it's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. And we got Radio Gaga going on right now.
Do have Radio Gaga going on. Isn't that a day that ends in Y around here, though?
I think they all end in Y.
Yes.
Okay. Hot Takes or Toast brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. I saw a thing, Yak, that said Kalani Sitake's on the hot seat. Is this true?
Yeah, so Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports put out, he does this annually, he puts out his ranking of the Power 4 now, which should be Power 5 conference coaches and who's on what level. He has levels 0 through 5. That's the way he goes. And level 0 is a Kyle Whittingham where they can essentially hang on however long they want because they're untouchable, as he mentions.
Yep.
But BYU, Kalani Sitake is on his second lowest tier, which is level 4, which essentially says that you better start winning pretty quick. It's not like win now or else. That's level 5, but Kalani is on the hot seat per Dennis Dodd.
I'm a little reluctant to put him on that seat now.
I would agree. Because here's the deal, and I said this on my podcast, actually, they came out overnight, is that if you were to cut Kalani Sitake after this season, say example, they don't go to a bowl game, PK, and you were to fire him, what coach in their right mind is going to look at that job at BYU and say, you know what I want to do? I want to take on the pressure of that job, and oh, by the way, they fired this guy 2 years after they made the transition to the highest level of football they've ever competed at.
Yeah. So I would back off unless they really, really bombed out.
Sure, if you went like 1-11.
Yeah, which we don't see that.
No.
I think they've got to show some progress, and if they continue to show progress, I think he's okay there. So we'll see how that plays out. I think they will show progress. I think it'll be okay. We're talking about a minimum standard. We're not talking about a high standard here. So from that perspective, I think they should be able to meet it. But they got a tough schedule, no doubt about it. 2 non-conference road games at SMU, at Wyoming. I don't know that it's going to be anything that is easy on them. Maybe at the end of the season, ASU and Houston. But at the same time, who knows what's going to be available at the end of the season when you go from that perspective. So I can't guarantee you that they've got any guaranteed wins we're talking about in conference. And obviously, if they lose to Southern Illinois, I think it's their first game, then they got all sorts of issues.
Yeah, that would raise all kinds of alarm bells if they were to lose that.
We're assuming that they're going to win that. But other than that, can I really look at and say, whereas in years past, obviously you could look at their schedule and say, okay, they got this one, they got that one, and they've got a few gimmies in conference. They had that, and obviously still as an independent they had that. But looking at their schedule this year, I don't know that I could say, wow, this is a guaranteed lock. You can play the game where, okay, they got to get this game, they got to get that game, and you'd probably say the last two games of the season.
Sure.
The 23rd in Tempe, and then at home to close it out the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is on the 27th.
28th, and then it's the 30th.
So you got ASU and Houston, and those are roundly considered 15th and 16th, give or take a poll or two. But and who knows, though. But those teams, they're going to show improvement. They've had times where they've been at ASU right now, literally coming off the 3 worst years in their entire program history. Going down to Baylor. Baylor struggled last year, but you're going down to Baylor. I can't look at that and say, wow, that's a guarantee. And then, of course, the other games, maybe UCF would be their easiest game beyond that. Well, that's down there, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I got UCF on my list of teams that could be a dark horse this year.
KJ Jefferson's over there, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And Malzahn, I think, isn't he the only coach in the league that has a national championship ring?
Running through the list off the top of my head, yeah, that's the way it would look like. The home games, Arizona, Oklahoma State, tough. Kansas State, tough. Kansas, tough. It's going to be hard. But they never said it was going to be easy, Yuck.
It only said it'd be worth it.
Yes, and so I'm a little hesitant to say he's on the hot seat right now.
Well, and the funny thing about it is Dodd last year had Kalani in his tier 1 where he's secure. So how do you drop him that quickly?
That's the crazy nature of college football, though.
It is.
Here's what I will say. The man deserves time, for now.
That's probably a good assessment.
Yeah, and if we're in the same situation next year, then it's an entirely different conversation. Hopefully for them, we're not. And the heat is off, and they're trying to get to the top spot of the conference, or top half of the conference anyway, or in contention in November. I would love to see that for them. That'd be great. All right, stay with us. Coming up next, we got the Locke Man joining us. Jake Scott's in. We'll get to all that right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. David Locke joining PK and Jake Scott, and David Locke's weekly interview is brought to you by the Murdoch Auto Team. Yeah, they're basketball people for sure. Mr. Locke, man, you're joined with Jake Scott and myself. How the heck are you?
Morning, David.
Nothing better than a Friday with the boys. How are you? I missed DJ, but I didn't get to talk to Jake earlier this week, so that fills that gap.
That's nice.
How are you guys?
We are doing well for sure, and we're moving along in summer. David Locke joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Watching the Summer League as it's come to an end, basically. I got to say, Vegas, I'm more enthused watching the Rooks, particularly Filipowski in Vegas, than I was in Salt Lake. And I know Kessler isn't playing or did not play in Vegas. What is your difference as far as an explanation? Because to me, he's looked radically better and different from one venue to the next.
We had Coach Tim LaCombe doing the third game of the Salt Lake Summer League, and I thought he made an interesting comment about Filipowski. He basically said he's got all the skills, he's just going to have to figure out how to use them differently. And I think he's beginning to learn how to use them differently. He had a pretty rough start to the Summer League and seems to have adapted nicely as it has gone on to become more efficient. If he can make that three, which we'll see, he's only a 34% three-point shooter at Duke, so we'll see. I don't think he's really like a knockdown, dead-eye shooter, but maybe it can happen with more practice and more time and more comfort.
then that's just a really valuable piece. You just don't find a lot of stretch fives out there. It was interesting to me that Taylor Hendricks usually guarding the 5 and him guarding the 4. I thought he slid his feet better defensively than a lot of people realize or give him credit for. I think he's probably actually a better switching defender than he is a drop big. But, he's just going to have to adapt and learn his game and learn the NBA game and what works and what doesn't. Spinning in traffic does not work in the NBA. So, you began to see more straight line drives. He's got a nice quick left hand, low dribble, hard drive to the basket. He doesn't always have to spin back. And so he'll have to learn that. He did start to spin to pass a little bit rather than spin to shoot. So he'll adapt and adjust, and still a very, very young player. I think, it feels like anybody who's at Duke feels like they're there for a long time just because Duke's so loud. But, Kyle Filipowski's still got a lot of years of development in young players. So we got to give him some space and time. I think G League will be helpful to him because that league's pretty fast when he plays there. And then over time, we'll watch him try to see how he can play minutes in the NBA game. Also, I just think, the other one, let's be super close. NBA player after Zach Edey. Like a big-time rotation NBA player on any of those rosters, any bigs? Summer League's pretty big, empty. You're not seeing a lot of 6'9" to 7 footers, 6'10" to 7 footers that are going to be playing minutes in the NBA playing Summer League.
I was talking to Ben about this yesterday, talking about Taylor Hendricks, David, and I said that the fact that he can shoot and guard is really important for him because it will give him time because he can be playable while he works on the other things, and the other things have a long way to go. So my question to you is, have you seen anything new from him? It was good to see him make some shots the other day, but has he installed anything new, or are you seeing anything new from him?
His body looks really different. Up close person, his lower body looks significantly stronger. I thought in limited time, really, if you think about it, it's not very much time, right? April 15th to July 8th, right? So not a lot of time. I thought both Bryce Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks looked really different, which is a huge tribute to our strength and conditioning staff and all those guys that are working those programs, because I thought those two guys looked considerably different. Lower body, I thought Taylor looked a lot stronger, and maybe that was noticed also. In the game against Toronto, when they weren't playing any bigs, he was just so dominant physically with his length and strength, and that was evident there.
David Locke joining us right here on the KSL Sports Zone. As the summer league fades into the memory, and then these guys will reconvene, and we'll see them once the season starts and go from there. I think now the attention turns toward building the roster, constructing the roster, getting it set. And at the top of the roster is the best player marketed. I think Sharani came out with a report of 3 picks now, swap picks, and this Podzinski kid. And I saw that the Warriors thought some of the Warriors executive staff said they thought he could be an all-star. And I don't know if they're driving up the price or trying to lower the price or whatever. What do you make of that potential deal?
Well, the word I have, I don't know if it's accurate, but just the murmurs, right, is that the Warriors are just totally unwilling to move Podziemski or Kuminga right now. They really believe that those are their guys for the future. It's a little surprising to me. I think it comes down to, if I understand this correctly, and I'm not certain I do, and no one's told me anything, so I'm just trying to piece together, so I just want to make sure this is clear. I may be the radio announcer for the team, but I'm not particularly in the know here. I'm not coming with any inside information. I don't have any secret, back channel path here, but just if we're logical about the way things are working, August 6th is the first day that Lowry's available for an extension.
Yeah.
It feels as though the Jazz are offering Lowry an extension on August 6th, and he's still on the roster. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
Between now and then, you're talking about?
No. Well, I mean, I think that I'm sure they're. I don't know what the rules are. I think they're allowed to negotiate it prior to August 6th. They just can't offer it until August 6th.
They're going to
offer. Oh, so that actual day he's on the roster. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, like so August 6th. Do we all agree that like the tea leaves seem to say that on August 6th, if Lauri Markkanen is on the roster, the Jazz are handing him an extension offer. We all agree?
Yes.
And if they don't, it would probably be a little weird. Like that would be the other one I would say. Like if they suddenly don't give an offer sheet on the 6th, like if I'm Lauri Markkanen, I'd be like, whoa, dude, what's up? All right, so if the Jazz are offering Lauri on August 6th, and then Lauri takes 2 days to sign it, he cannot be traded for an entire year.
Right.
Because the trade deadline pushes him past he can't be traded till July. Not an entire year, but basically the first trade cycle, the trade deadline, if he waits till the 8th to sign it, he's not movable on that trade deadline. Okay. So those two things, I think, one is hypothetical, we believe to be fact, the other is actually the way the rules work. To me, that means that on August 4th, the Warriors have to make a decision. Are we going into the season with this roster as it is, Steph Curry's window having a year or two left? Or are we meeting Danny Ainge's price for the best available player in the NBA who would radically change who the Warriors are? And I think there's just kind of a deadline sitting there that by which the Warriors are going to have to make a decision. If all these conversations have taken place, I haven't heard anyone deny them. So again, without knowing, I will assume that those conversations have in fact taken place. Seems reasonable. Like as somebody said to me, Danny Ainge is the king of fishing expeditions. So Danny may be on a little bit of a fishing expedition to find out whether he hooked something big. And on August 4th will be pretty much the day the Warriors in their office have to make a decision, or whomever else might be involved in this. Remember, we never saw Cleveland coming until the Cleveland deal got done for Donovan. So whoever it is, August 4th and 5th, if people don't jump up, then the Jazz make their move.
If you see the Warriors, let's just say for hypothetical sake, they make that move and they don't trade those two players that you just mentioned that they've got to keep, their two younger players, and we'll give them Markkanen just for argument's sake. So now they got the two players, Curry, Green, Markkanen. Do you see that as a contending team, though?
Oh, yeah, I think they're really good. So if they had Lowry, they're really good. Steph's great still. Clay was not great. Clay has not been great. The upgrade from Klay Thompson to Lauri Markkanen from Klay Thompson is dramatic. Longer, bigger, just good a shooter. Like, dramatic.
Yeah, but Green gets in the way of winning, and I'm not sure those other two guys are ready to be as good as they will be.
Well, I have a hard time saying guys want to win a championship gets in the way of winning. I do agree that he is mercurial, but I'm not sure he gets in the way of winning. And I actually think they've nicely upgraded their roster with all the little moves that they've made around.
Yeah, they've made some good smaller moves. I agree.
Yeah. So, I think that team, the first thing is it's really, really hard in this day and age to have 240 minutes of good basketball on the court. So that's one thing I would say. Like, it's hard to have a full roster. And if they do that, I don't have their exact depth chart in front of me, but I think they would have a full 240 minutes of basketball. Right? So they're starting Steph, probably DeAnthony Melton, or maybe Podziemski, Lauri Markkanen, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green. Two non-shooters on the floor is a little bit of a problem. They would have, under your scenario, they would have DeAnthony Melton. I'm trying to remember who else they signed, but they made some other nice signings. I think they're pretty good at that point. And I think they might have Kevon Looney's still on the roster right now. And everyone thought they were going to have to get rid of him. They haven't done that yet. So I mean, yeah. I mean, the other answer is if they don't make the move, what are they?
Now they're a team with a superstar that's playing out the string like a lot of teams do with superstars until they retire.
Dirk with the
And they're what like, so OKC is going to be the favorite, Minnesota, Dallas, Denver.
Yeah, the
then are
usuals.
they the fifth best team in the West? Is New Orleans the fifth best team in the West?
The Warriors? I don't see it.
Right. So, I mean, on that level, that's where I think August 4th gets really hard on the Warriors.
Right.
Are they really just going to run Steph out there as like Kobe Bryant his final years with the Lakers when they're just terrible? But Steph's still good. That's the difference. Kobe wasn't good then.
So I was saying yesterday, it feels to me like it's a similar situation to the Rudy Minnesota thing in a sense that Lowry's like, I mean, what you're describing to make them better, I totally agree with. But he's like the only guy, right? I mean, this is where Ainge really has leverage. Now, you said best player available, sure, but is there even a plan B?
Well, maybe Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
Plan B from the Jazz perspective?
No, for Golden State.
Oh, okay.
I mean, how much? Like, Rudy was the only one Minnesota could trade for. Like, there wasn't another player in the league that filled their needs, and that's why they had so much leverage. I think it's something similar here.
Yeah, I mean, there's not another piece that changes who the Warriors are.
Well, plus he doesn't dribble. He's fine with standing there and shooting. I mean, he doesn't have to have the ball the whole game. Like, he fits for a lot of reasons.
Right. No, he fits to everybody. He fits on every roster for everybody.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Do you think that there's other potential moves because you look at what the Jazz are trying to do? They've got a host of young guys, and they still have Clarkson. They still have Collins. So I'm wondering how those pieces fit in as they look to the future when they're ready to win, whether that's 1, 2, or 3 years.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but two things. If the Jazz do the Lowry extension, they'll have somewhere between $12 and $18 million of cap space, depending on how much they use on Lowry. I don't see players that fit into that, but over time you can tell. I mean, who knows? The other thing I think is happening in the league right now is the unintended consequence of all these aprons is I think that it's making it more difficult for teams to make moves and add pieces. Either they're over the apron and then they have to make exactly the type of deal they can make is limited, or they're so worried about the apron that they're not willing to make a deal where they'll bring in more money. And I think that has quelled a trade market for the types of players you just mentioned with the Jazz. And it might be you need some of these teams to get out on the floor, see who they really are, see their problems, and see that before they're willing to make those moves. Because I think on salary cap structure, those are getting more difficult than they used to be.
What do you think about the idea to somehow allow re-signing players you've drafted to not affect the apron? I've heard that floated out there. I thought it was interesting, too. At first glance, I just dismissed it. But then you think about it, I mean, rewarding teams for drafting well and keeping players they've drafted, and if the idea is to keep, reward teams and keep their superstars home, I think that's actually an interesting way to do it.
So should Oklahoma City be punished for being smart to trade for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Well, that's the idea is you could pay Shea and then you can pay Chet whatever too. And you won't have to, or whoever, right. Williams or whatever. And you wouldn't have to decide, well, we've got to ship at least one of these guys out. You could retain some. So in a way, it would be punishing the players traded for, but they'd still get their money.
This all started with the Warriors because of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green.
Right. Well, it's the Warriors, I think, floating it out there, so that would make sense.
Right, yeah. The Warriors are the ones who are like, we shouldn't be penalized for the fact that we drafted our players.
Right.
And Boston, would have Jason Tatum. So it's I have to really digest it. What's interesting to me is that your first glance on is, that's good for small market teams that have to build through the draft. And then the first two cases examples of we get of teams where it would be helpful are two large market teams, where it would allow Boston to re-sign Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for whatever without having the impact, any restrictions. And then it would have, and so I don't know that gets interesting of whether or not that actually is helpful or not. So I'd have to figure out what we're really doing with it. I mean, this is interesting to watch right now. The aprons are having a huge impact on teams. I'm not sure every front office understands exactly how it's going to play. Some are overreacting, some are underreacting, some are lying about it and using it as an excuse. And it's pretty fascinating. And it'll be interesting to see what the impact on the game is. I mean, there's a bunch of things going on in the league right now that are fascinating. Like the amount of teams that might be really bad this year is really interesting too. I mean, it could be as many as 7 really terrible teams. And so then what does that do? And that, they've worked so hard to get rid of that, and they've done a nice job of flattening the lottery odds, which seemed like it was going to take away tanking. But on the other end, you still have 7 teams that are just at a stage in their development that you can call it tanking or whatever you want, but there's a real chance that 7 teams are terrible this year.
Yeah. This idea of small market, if you have a small market owner who's willing to spend big dollars, is it really a small market in the way we define small markets as a disadvantage?
Yes, to some extent, but I also think, the 4 best teams in the West this year are going to be Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, and Dallas, right? So that's I'm not sure that's small. That's not big market, certainly. The 4 best teams in the East are going to be Boston, Philadelphia, huge markets, Milwaukee, New York. So 3 of those 4 are big. So I just think it has to do with roster building. That's what the league's trying to do.
Right.
Is build it so that any team can roster build. There's still advantages to being one of the free agent cities. Very subtly, I think Miles Bridges kind of said, I want to go to New York. And had the Jazz offered more for Miles Bridges, would he come to Salt Lake? I don't know. I think there's a little question there.
Yeah, I just think this small market thing is overstated. Phoenix is a small market, but Ishbia wants to spend trillions of dollars. Right. So what's the difference?
I mean, also, if you listen to James Dolan, who everyone is, nuts, but actually his comments he made the other day are really, really fascinating. And I don't want to bore our listeners with it because it gets into the economics of the NBA. But he made some really, really interesting comments about what he thinks of the new TV deal. And there does seem to be something going. It's going to be really fascinating to watch. I'll try to make it really short here because I'm following it obviously closely because it might make radio announcers super important, which I like. But because of the fall of all of the regional sports networks, the projected local revenue on TV is very low for most markets right now, which means that in this negotiation, it seems, at least, we haven't seen the details, that the NBA may have been willing to give exclusivity to its partners at a much higher rate than usual, meaning that the Miami Heat, because they're the Miami Heat, may end up playing as many, I don't know, I'm kind of speculating here, 20 games that are on either Peacock, Amazon, ESPN Plus, and that are not on local TV because local TV is not generating income anymore. Well, if you're James Dolan and you own MSG Television and you are driving a lot of revenue out of your local TV and you're one of the very few and you're about to lose 20 games on your network, then you are pissed.
Yeah. All right. I buy it, but then just charge $20,000 for courtside seats.
Right.
and away you go. Speaking of away we go, we got to go. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, talk to you soon, my friend. See you.
All
Bye.
right. That's David Locke. All right. Coming up next, you heard the voice of Jake Scott. I got a bone to pick with him, and stay with us. We'll get to it next.
Really?
Right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
There's problem solvers. I'm not one of them. I'm a problem creator.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right. I call it challenging groupthink, but really I'm an instigator.
See, I'm more of a problem pointer-outer.
Doing it wrong.
Exactly. Which I'd probably rather be than a problem creator.
Sure, it's better.
But easier than problem solving.
Neither help.
No, nothing.
Neither fix anything.
No. I mean, my living is to pop on the microphone and say, hey, that team really stunk out there. Well, how did they make it better? I don't know.
Not my problem.
Don't you get paid to figure that out? Boy, that team stinks. Why do they stink? Well, I can give you a number of different reasons.
How do you fix it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's your problem.
Not up to me.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Well, I love this job.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to kslsports.com/contest, and then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. You're a big disgrace.
Wow, that was a sneaky insult there.
We will rock you.
Is this still a big stadium anthem? Seems like I don't hear it as much as I used to.
You're probably right on that.
I know they've tried to evolve stadium music and all that stuff, but you just stick with the classics. We Will Rock You is pretty good.
Okay.
You know?
It is.
Mix in the Hey song.
They did, what was that? Was it the Live Aid or something? They did like a 20-minute performance.
Oh, Queen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or was it Farm Aid?
Was it Farm Aid? Yeah.
It was one of those.
Well, Kyle Whittingham thinks it's the greatest 20 minutes ever in music. Like a short little concert.
I like Queen, but I don't know if I'm buying into that.
And I went back at him and I said, no, the Beatles on the Rooftop.
No.
Well, that was longer. So what? It was still sort of an impromptu short concert thing. And that, my friend, was the greatest little mini concert.
Yeah.
Well, you're dumb on the Beatles.
I just don't think they're as good as everybody says.
It doesn't matter.
I think it's the easy opinion to say that.
No, it's not.
Beatles
The
are
records show. I think that LeBron is overrated as a scorer.
Okay.
No, he's not. He's the all-time leading scorer.
I don't know. Dude, record sales isn't a good
No, it's not.
measuring stick.
Not at all. Reminds me of that movie scene where the guy's arguing with the kid. Well, the kid says, all you got is the rings on Jordan. And the guy says, that's all you need. Yeah, there's some things that are indisputable, my friend.
Yeah.
Now,
saying that you like the most popular of the pop is, yeah, whatever. The music is so subjective. How could that be some sort of measuring stick? A championship are actually games won.
Yeah, but you can argue that big deal. Like the team had an injury that they played against. Like Boston, the idea was thought that Boston's run through the East was as weak as it could possibly be.
It was pretty weak.
Okay. So then is it that really that big of a deal that they just did? Like DJ's big thing is if you root for a team and that team wins, you're not allowed to brag because Dan Sheldon was a Florida fan and bragged and got in his face for a number of years, and that bugged him. And so if your team wins, you can't brag if they're supposed to win.
Well, selling records isn't winning for anybody but the accountant, I suppose, who's
and
money.
The band members and their wives and ex-wives and so forth and so on.
Yeah, but can you, there's a lyric in the Taylor Swift song "We're Never Getting Back Together" where she complains that her boyfriend likes the indie, keeps telling her that these indie records are much better than hers, which is kind of hilarious, considering Taylor Swift has sold millions and millions of records and songs and all those sorts of things.
But there's wait till 10 a.m. before you quote a Taylor Swift.
You just
lyric.
told me that selling music is the benchmark, and nobody's better than her at it right now. But her boyfriend likes some garage band better because that's a lot of snooty music fans actually think that pop is selling out and is a negative. that you sell lots of records?
Oh, because they think that they're just they're high and mighty. They think they're different. They're progressive. They don't go see movies. They go see films.
Yeah, but you're
get out of town.
You're looking down on people because they don't like the Beatles. What's the difference?
No, I'm not. No, you're fine not to like them. That has nothing to do with it. You have to acknowledge greatness. Kobe Bryant had 1 million people who hated him. He probably had 1 trillion people who hated him. Fine, hate him all you want. But don't tell me that he was overrated. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to like him. That's your choice. Those are all personal choices. But you cannot deny greatness. Should the Boston Celtics be recognized as great because they had an easy run through the Eastern bracket? Should they be recognized as lesser than great? I am asking you.
I don't know. I think Kobe was kind of overrated.
You are so wrong about that.
Why?
How can Kobe Bryant be overrated?
I don't know. He's a volume shooter.
Who was it?
Whatever.
MJ here across the street at Delta Center, which you were instructed not to use the. Nobody told me. They don't like me over there. I don't even get their emails, like when they make the trades and stuff or press conference. They don't even send them to me. He was like 13 of 45 when he made the last shot.
Okay.
That's not volume shooting?
Sure.
So if your definition of overrated is volume shooting, why wouldn't you put MJ in that category?
We're not talking about MJ.
Why wouldn't? But I just brought him up, so now we are. Why wouldn't you put him in that category?
He was a bit of a volume shooter, sure.
Who wasn't? Who isn't among the greatest? Was Malone a volume shooter?
He was probably, so he was probably a little more efficient than...
Well, no, but that's the difference. I'm just talking about volume, not efficiency.
Okay, is this a science class?
There's a difference.
Is there?
All the great ones are volume shooters.
Adam tweets this in. This is a great line. He says, PK liking the Beatles and Sinatra is like saying your favorite food is ice cream. That's a great line.
Is ice cream
Adam,
food?
That's a great line.
Is ice cream food? I would argue that it's not food.
I would argue that somebody just told you the Beatles were good once, and you were like, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to think. So I'm going to jump on board, and then I'm going to crap on everybody who says that they're not the best thing ever.
I want you on July 29th to go up to practice at Utah and get in Whittingham's face and say the Beatles are overrated. They are not good. They're crap. I want to be there when you tell him that.
I'm never going to get in Kyle Whittingham's face. That doesn't seem like a good thing. But I'd go up. I've had rock discussions with him before.
I want you to
throw that hot take
I want
on
you to get in his face and tell him that. I want you to be passionate about it.
Again, I'm not getting in anybody's face.
Why not? You're getting in my face.
I'm sitting way over here.
Metaphorically speaking.
I'll go tell Whit the Beatles are overrated. Sure. Why not?
And Kobe's overrated?
Whit likes the Stones anyway.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah,
Who don't?
I've been to sitting in front of him at a Stones concert.
I seen both of yous.
Uh-huh. That was a great show. That was a great concert. That was a long time ago
That
now.
was a week after his first season as head coach.
Yeah.
And he had the big upset win in Provo that got them bowl eligible. So he was feeling really good.
Well, everybody was feeling good. That was a great show.
I know, but last week I did a thing with him a week ago today on just a panel discussion deal, and people could, the Ultimate Sports Bash,
Yeah.
people could ask questions.
Uh-huh.
And so I in between asking questions, we would talk. And the reason why I say he was feeling good, not just because he's at the concert, I understand that, but he was talking about that as a head coach, you need at least 5 wins to, mood-wise, to overcome one loss.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
5 wins to overcome 1 loss?
Yeah. because you get the point being.
Or else you get what? Or else you take scrutiny?
Your internal emotions.
Oh, okay. So unless you go 10-2 every year, you're devastated? That's pretty rough.
But they suffer more with losing than they do the joy of winning. I've had multiple coaches tell me that. He put the number on it. Football, basketball might be different in all those different sports. But yeah, he said it takes about 5 wins for you to get over a loss.
And if he were coaching at New Mexico State, he'd feel differently.
Yeah, or else you'd die like a year and a half into your season. It'd just drive you nuts.
I mean, that's probably a good mentality to have at Utah, a place where you can win 10 games. But
that's where he's at. But
I get it.
I think they suffer losing harder than way harder than they enjoy winning.
I think that's circumstantial, though, I guess is my point.
Yeah, okay, it's circumstantial, but the philosophy isn't.
But Gary Anderson probably would have told you that when he was at Utah as the defensive coordinator, and then going to Utah State, he certainly didn't feel that
so then it would be 2.
Yeah, you got to adjust the number.
But the point is, you suffer harder losing than you experience joy winning.
Yeah, maybe. Or is that just what you tell people so they...
No, I think it's legit.
Yeah. I don't think anything's legit anymore.
Nothing is legit?
Nothing. It's total anarchy. People are lying to my face 24/7.
I love you, Jake Scott.
Hey!
Okay. Get on Twitter or X or whatever they do to contact us and tell Jake Scott what is legitimate.
Just what? Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Because you think nothing is legitimate.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know what's legitimate. I'll argue with it.
Excellence in the summer league translates to quality play during the season.
Okay, stop.
You won't go there at all?
No.
Not at all.
I've seen way too many bozos dominate summer league, and I've seen way too many end up be good players do nothing.
How about Donovan Mitchell dominated summer league, and Keontae George dominated summer league? Your volume shooter.
Did Keontae dominate summer league? I don't know.
Well, you played 2 games and you scored 30 points each game.
Yeah, but you shot about 30%.
This
gets to our point.
Shots didn't go in. But my point is good players are volume shooters.
Don't you pull that make or miss league crap. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from you. I hate when I hear it from everybody else.
Why?
It's such an easy explanation. It's such a dodge. It gets back to Gordon's why didn't the ball didn't go on the hoop thing with Boylan. It's just a way to duck a hard explanation of why you lost.
Well, literally, I mean
it's a make
this.
or miss league.
I mean this sincerely. With DJ out today, it is nice of you to show up.
Nice.
I mean that sincerely.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. It is a make or miss league.
Next time,
but there's things that go into make or miss.
Exactly. That's why it's
but
a stupid
nevertheless,
dodge.
It's still at the end of the game, not the end of the day. Did the ball go in the hoop? If it didn't, you're going to suck. That's a legit take. It's just it has layers to the take.
It's not a legit take.
It is too.
Because all you're doing is describing the basic function of the game of basketball. That's it.
Well,
and by the way, next time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Next time somebody goes 9 for 10 or whatever, has 30 points and has this incredible shooting night, and they say after the game, well, it's a make or miss league, that will be the first. It's always just used after bad games. It's a way to not explain why your team played badly.
I would disagree that it's only exclusively after bad games. I think they know shots. They come and go.
A player will come out and say, don't give me any credit for the good game because the ball just happened to go in this game.
No, there's things that go into it, but the final analysis is the ball has to go in the hoop.
Yeah, and you only want to talk about those things when it goes right, and they don't want to talk about those things when it goes wrong. So then you come out and you say, well, it's a make or miss league. Thank you for describing basketball to me.
Yeah.
The basic function. As an answer to a question.
But I think that's a legit philosophy. You can draw up a great play and get a wide open, clean look. And if the ball doesn't go in, what are you going to do?
Hey,
you going to beat yourself up over it?
Hey, Hatch, why did you get an F on that essay? Well, it's a pencil and paper thing. It's a pencil. The pencil goes down on the paper.
Not
and it's
the
a pencil.
same. Not the same.
It's exactly
That's
the same.
illegitimate.
Whatever. Go to break.
That's 100%
You just hate to lose.
illegitimate. You fool. All right. We got to get to something I really want to get to. And we'll do that. We'll probably do that at the top of the hour. Kalani Sitake and where you see him this season. We talked a little bit earlier. We'll talk about it with Jake Scott.
Well, it's a running and passing league, Pat.
And see, I'm going to bring that up about football, and I will not use a running and passing. I'll use two other words.
It's a win-or-loss sport.
Don't come here once every 2 years and ask those questions. I don't want to hear it. Not from you.
Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hanson Scotty.
Let's do it.
Kalani Sitake, what is the most you've paid for a concert ticket, and what concert was it?
For me, MC Hammer.
Oh, nice.
I had the parachute pants, you know, all that stuff ready to go. I mean, don't get me started, guys.
No,
you
we
can
won't.
still listen to the stuff right now. It's good, clean, wholesome music.
Exactly.
You know, the whole family can have parachute pants and go out.
That's true.
And then do their dances and stuff like that. You know, Can't Touch This. I mean, he even had some slow songs, you know, songs about praying.
Pray.
You know, come on, man. Like, he's got it all.
What kind of a show is this? Catch Hans Olsen and Scotty G every day from noon to 3 on 97.5 1280 The Zone. Powered by KSLSports.com.
Win Tickets Wednesday. Now, next week, we'll be off Wednesday. That's the 24th. So don't miss your chance to win big on The Zone next Tuesday with a special edition of Win Tickets Wednesday. You can win tickets to see 30 Seconds to Mars at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 30th. Listen to The Zone all day next Tuesday for your chance to win. Fat bottom girls make the rockin' world go round, Jake Scott. Did you know that?
I was aware of this song. Ahead of its time.
This is a great tune.
Is Queen one of those bands where the good is really good and then the bad is really bad and there's not a whole lot in between?
Queen is Scottie Pippen.
Okay. Meaning?
They're not MJ, but they're still really good. They're Hall of Fame worthy.
Oh, sure. But, I mean, based on the top of the catalog.
Well, sure.
Like, that song really stinks. And there's a lot of
What song
really
stinks?
fat bottom girls.
Stinks? You don't like
and
it?
There's a lot of... Queen has a lot of stinkers.
They make the rockin' world go round. Get
Yeah.
on your bikes and ride. What are you talking about?
Queen has a lot
I
of...
hate you.
Has a lot of stinkers. But a lot of great. But a lot of stinkers.
You think this song... Play that. Give me some of that song. This song stinks?
It's not
Listen
one of
to
their...
the guitar. Get out of town. This is awesome. Stiffness in the bones.
I don't know why bringing it back up would all of a sudden change my opinion. I have heard the song before.
You make a man out of me. Whoa, listen to the good drums. Oh, yes.
I mean, lyrical...
Are you going to take me home tonight?
Lyrical genius aside, not a great tune.
Oh, come on. You're going to let it all hang out. Fat bottom girls, you know what they do? Yes, they do. What are you talking about? You've ruined my whole weekend and it hasn't even started. You are illegitimate. That is an illegitimate take.
Oh, I got one of the, let's see.
I'm never going to invite you back.
This is very funny. Wild Turkey Fart Blunt, who says, polls being fun equals legitimate. Because he's making fun of my drop that Hans and Scotty play all the time.
Okay. I don't get you, man.
Well, nobody does. You're not the first. I don't know.
But come on, polls are fun.
Yeah.
polls?
We're talking like.
But come on, polls are fun.
Football polls.
Whose voice is that?
That's a long time
But
ago.
come on, polls are fun.
Whose voice is that?
What do you mean?
Is that you?
Yeah.
It's Jake Scott.
Let me hear that again.
But come on, polls are fun.
That barely sounds like you.
Can I start denying that it is me? Is that a thing I can do? Because I would love to do that.
What do you mean polls are fun?
Polls are fun.
Talking about like football polls, preseason polls. Like, because it gives you something to talk about.
Sports are fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ball didn't go in the hoop. Thanks for the obvious. What are you talking about?
And that's what I wanted to bring up. The essence. What does Whittingham say the essence of football is?
I don't know.
Blocking and tackling.
Okay.
So when you boil it down.
It's a block and tackle game.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So when you boil it down, that's what it's about.
So catching doesn't matter. Running doesn't matter.
Well, but yes, but it doesn't, supersede blocking and tackling.
I would argue that running is more important than blocking and tackling. If you're not running, you're probably
I want you to show up July 29th and get in Whittingham's face and tell him that running is more important than blocking and tackling.
I'd like to see the best blocking and tackling team in college football walk the whole game and still win.
If you blocked appropriately enough, then yes.
Would you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could skip.
What if you walked
skip to my loo, skip to my end zone.
What if you walked on defense?
Fat bottom girls make the rockin' world go round.
Couldn't get to him, Coach. We were walking. But I'll tell you what, if I would have gotten my hands on him, we would have tackled him.
Right, but he was blocked so well. The perfect pancake block.
I'm talking about the other side of the ball. How do you guard anybody if you are just walking?
Well, obviously you have
You're not
to
running.
run.
Running's more important, thank you.
It is not.
That's the W.
If you don't have blocking, you don't get no W because you don't get nowhere to run. You're going down, down, down. The Cougars football team, will they go down this year? Will they go up? Where will they be? We'll get to that next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back in. Freddie Mercury singing his heart out for Queen.
This is a great song.
A band that Jake Scott does not like.
I didn't say that.
Right here, 97.5, KSL Sports Zone. Jeez, look, it's so upset over there.
Man.
We're having a good time.
How could you not be upset? Sitting in his chair. Talking to PK. It's a recipe for upsetness.
I don't know. Yeah, man. I seem to bring out the worst in people.
I'm not upset. No, I'm having a great time. Having a great time.
Nice. That sounded horrible, but it was still nice.
Oh, man.
In its own way. So football practice, we're under 2 weeks away, man. It's going to get started. And before we know it, the season will be here. We're talking about this. Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, says Kalani Sitake on the hot seat. I'm not willing to say hot seat. I'll put him on the seat, but it's not the hot seat. And you?
Yeah, I could come along with that. I think he's got a...
On me, that he's on the seat or he's on the hot seat?
No, I agree with you. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I mean, I heard you guys talking about this a little bit earlier. Yeah, if he wins one game next year, then that seat's going to heat up quickly. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he has to, meet or exceed expectations this year.
So meet the minimum being 6-6?
Yeah. That's where I would put it. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you'd have.
Well, I mean, you have to put it at that.
Would have a different standard, but I think that's probably.
I mean,
what
if
it
you're
is.
Colorado, Houston, ASU, if you won 5 games, that would be an advancement.
Their players are all talking about going back to the bowl seasons. So 6-6 at minimums.
Yeah,
And if he misses that by a game, I don't think they're going to run him out on a rail.
I don't think
necessarily.
Two 5-7 seasons in a row, though. That really amps up the heat for the 25 season.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. Yeah, certainly. But that's the business they've chosen, right?
Thank you, Hiram.
That's how it works. I love that line.
It's a Godfather 2 line.
Yep.
When I look at this from a fan perspective, we're going through their schedule. you look at them in order to get the 6 wins. Okay, Southern Illinois, and you'd have to think they'd have to beat Baylor, they'd have to beat Houston, they'd have to beat ASU. So that's 4. So they got to find a way
to get 2 more.
Yeah, that's assuming, that they can beat those teams. Obviously,
I would favor them against those teams.
I would too. I would too.
I think both road games in the non-conference are brutal. We asked Tom Homo about that.
We did.
Big 12 Media Day.
And he had to get scheduling taken care of, and
it wasn't his first choice. That was obvious, but it's what they have to do. So,
although I think they can win both of those games.
I don't know. I think splitting both of those games is more likely.
So then you would go lose SMU, win Wyoming.
Right. But I don't think win Wyoming is any sort of guarantee. They have a new coach, but they were good last year.
Bowl built a nice program there, and he retired.
Yeah, he's a great coach.
Right. And I think part of it is that a lot of times they've had success, and then the coach takes off, whereas he stayed and did his thing for a number of years, and that was cool to see from them, to have some continuity. I enjoyed that. But yeah, that's I've been up there you've probably been up there too. When the Cougars come to town, that's a big, big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It'll be early in the season, so it won't be most likely funky weather. Won't be a part of it.
Were you at the game when Wyoming beat Croton up there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember the pandemonium after that game. I mean, it was like
ripping down the goalpost, running it through town.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't beat BYU and whatever it was, and they beat them in Laramie, and it was the biggest thing.
It was a crappy BYU team, but it was still a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, right.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think that's any sort of guaranteed win.
That's the thing about it, man. Their schedule, if you're a fan, would you like to wake up in the morning on a Saturday thinking, oh, we're most likely going to win, or, man, I'm not really sure?
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be necessarily a quote-unquote fun season for BYU, I don't think. Where I'm concerned about Coach Sitake and his future at BYU is I don't like their business plan. I don't like how they're
what do you mean
trying
by that?
To win.
Well, explain, please.
I don't think what wins at Utah wins at BYU. And I think they're trying to take what wins at Utah and put it at BYU, and I don't think that's going to work.
All right, you got to give me more than that. What are you talking about?
Historically speaking, what wins at BYU is an All-American quarterback who's an upperclassman who can sling it all over the field.
All right.
Big offensive lines, great linebackers, not necessarily reliant on the defense, although if the defense was good, that would be helpful. Like, what year was it with Bronco? Like the 2006 team with Bronco where the defense was really good, But if you look back at BYU's history, it's Max Hall, John Beck, Brandon Doman, Ty Detmer, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, even Steve Sarkisian I'd throw in there. I mean,
certainly
they can recruit those type of quarterbacks, and that's how they win.
But if you have a good defense, or if you have a great defense combined with that, then you got the 96 special team.
Right. But Utah have a great defense based on dynamic corners, run the ball constantly. Who cares who the quarterback is? It doesn't matter. That's not how you win at BYU. I've talked to you about this before. It's driving me crazy. The quarterback now can participate in the run game, so the run game's going to be better. That shouldn't even be relevant at BYU. That's not how they should be trying to win. That's ridiculous.
Defenses become consistent or more sophisticated to where they can defend the pass better, and BYU in a lot of those times was catching teams off guard. And
stop running the Utah defense at BYU. It's not going to work. They've been trying to do that forever. It's not going to work. So you're saying
they're all Utah guys.
So change what you're doing. Bronco came in running that stupid 3-3-5 stack thing, and when he realized, okay, well, that's definitely not going to work at BYU, he threw in the garbage can and coached another 10 years there. Andy Ludwig, when he got to Utah the first time and inherited Urban Meyer's spread, even though he was a pro-style David Carr type of thing, he totally adjusted what he did because that's how, at the time, you won at Utah. That was the recipe. You can recruit to that. I don't think that they can do at BYU what they do at Utah. For one, they can't recruit the corners. And I know they've gotten some transfers that have been a little bit better, and we'll see how it goes. But you can't recruit corners to BYU that you can leave out on an island like you can at Utah. It's just not something BYU's ever done before. So why would it work now? Bronco, in fact, this big aggressive defensive coordinator, 3-3-5 stack and all that stuff, by the end of his run, what was his defense that everybody hated, Hatch? Drop 8 or whatever it was?
Oh, you're talking about Broncos finals? Yeah,
at the end, the drop 8. Everybody hated that, but that's what you have to do.
Well, that was more of what Lassiter and
right. I mean, but everybody ends up doing that. My point is every defensive coordinator who takes a job at BYU is like, we're going to blitz all the time, and we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to do all this and that, and then you realize, I can't recruit the personnel to play like that.
Why can't they recruit the personnel, though? I would disagree with that.
I don't know. You tell me. Why haven't they had...
I'm not going to disagree with myself. Why would I tell you?
No, why haven't they had multiple all-conference level, and I realize they haven't been in a conference, but you get my point, all-conference level corners? Who are the best corners at BYU over the last 20 years?
Well, that's 20 years. It'd be hard for me to
10
go
years.
Back.
Brian Logan.
I love Brian. He's 5 feet tall.
5'6".
And was
a great open field tackler.
Yes.
That's probably because of his size, man. He could just zero in and wasn't getting faked out.
You'd probably have to put last year's corner tandem of Camden Garrett and Eddie Heckard on that list. We talk about them being transferred.
Yeah, getting better and being transferred.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Why can't they now recruit those guys? I think they can.
I think
they've never been in a better situation to have a wider spread of recruiting rather than the Utah County kid.
Okay, but I think if they could do that, I think Bronco would have done that in 04 when he wanted an extra defensive back on the field.
04 was different than 24. We're 20 years removed.
All right. Because BYU is still the same university.
Yeah, but everything has changed within the university. The football program, not the university. The football program.
Okay.
You have a pathway to make the national playoff, and they haven't had that literally ever.
Okay,
ever.
So you are the coaching staff is betting on you being right. I don't think you are.
Oh, I think I am.
And even if you were right, they don't have anybody who can sling it at quarterback. And Ben always pushes back and he says every university is looking for an all-American quarterback. Sure, but BYU has a history of recruiting them. They've done it all the time. They were quarterback U. Hance had a big argument with Softy about who had the better quarterback legacy, Utah or BYU or the University of Washington.
Softy
Mahler.
Yeah, Dave Softy Mahler. Yeah,
he's a radio guy in Seattle.
He worked in Seattle forever.
Big Huskies honk. BYU can recruit those quarterbacks. So where are they?
Okay, if they can recruit those quarterbacks, why can't they recruit those DBs? What's the difference?
I don't know. That'd be an interesting sociological deep dive.
Well, they've brought in 2 guys in the last recruiting class who are pretty highly thought of defensive backs, and Falatau Satawala out of Bountiful, who Utah.
Asawala.
Okay.
Yeah, Asawala and Satawala, and then Trey Alexander. They got a kid out of Atlanta that they think is going to be the next big corner.
That's what I'm saying. I think their recruiting net has been cast wider than ever now.
It absolutely has.
Yeah.
Okay, casting a net and getting people to come is a different thing.
They're in the process of doing it. They've only played 1 season in the conference. I think their level of recruiting is picking up because now they have viable stuff to sell where for over a decade they really didn't.
How much did they have to sell back in the Mountain West and WAC days? Well, they were pretty good then.
Not like now.
Not like now. I get it that it's different, but
they are making a massive push on the NIL.
Yeah, sure.
They're stepping up to the plate in a manner that was never done before.
So all of a sudden, Jalen Johnson's going to BYU instead of Utah.
No. Maybe so. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't.
No, your first inclination is correct. No, he's still not going there.
I'm not so sure about that anymore. I mean, obviously they got the code and that stuff, and it's a little bit different.
A little.
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah, but I don't think it's. Yeah, I think it's racist to say that a black guy can't live the honor code.
No, I would agree with that. I don't. That's not my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's the intimation, though. Of,
No.
yeah, I think it is.
My opinion is the honor code automatically limits that net, that recruiting net that you guys are talking about.
And so Utah's net is wider. Understood. We're not comparing nets. Don't give me net size.
No, it's. You say it's a little different. BYU is a lot different. And finding young people, regardless of race or religion, that can fit into that lifestyle is going to
wider than ever.
It's going to limit who you can recruit.
But it's also, at the same breath, wider than ever.
Fine.
Yeah.
I still don't think Jalen Johnson is picking BYU over Utah. And by the way, I'm just picking random, really good Utah cornerback. I'm not picking him specifically. Other than he is a star corner who picked Utah in large part because of the defense that they run.
Oh yeah, but we're not. They can't recruit Jalen Johnson. Fine,
but that's who you need. You need the stud corner to run that defense.
I think they had some stud corners last year. I think they had stud corners in '96. Yeah, they can. And if you can get them in '96, you can get them in 2026.
You just told me that 25 years ago doesn't matter. You just told me that.
Well, but I can name that team.
In 96.
You wanted to know the best corners of the last 20 years. I can't remember who the corners were in 2012. I'm sorry, but I can remember who the corners were in '96 because the team was, what were they, 14 or 15-1?
They were really good.
Yeah.
But that's the exception, not the rule. And what I did say...
Right, but the exception can become more of the rule now because things have changed dramatically in Provo. Conference talks, playoff, 64,000 talks, money talks. Money always has the biggest, loudest voice in every room. And they have the opportunity to offer that. Is the absolute 5-star going to go to BYU? Probably not. But there's plenty of other players. The amount of quality players in college football, I think, is bigger and better than ever. And kids are considering BYU for what BYU has to offer because BYU has a lot to offer. Yes, they've got this other thing here that's going to be different than the University of Utah. Understood. But that doesn't mean it is a 100% barrier and cannot be conquered. Just look at the roster now. They're getting those types of kids.
And we're talking about them winning 6 games. Listen, what I had said was that if BYU could recruit those types of corners, Bronco would have done it in 04. And you said, it doesn't matter. Well, it's so different now. And then you go all the way back to 96.
Because I remember that team, yeah.
But
those were junior college kids. Well, now they're transfer portal kids. McTire was a junior college kid, wasn't he?
Yeah, same with Omar Morgan.
Right, and those kids were L.A. kids that I knew about because I had only been here a couple of years at that time. So that junior college kid, and coaches will tell you, Whittingham talked about this very thing last Friday when somebody asked him. Those junior college kids are being replaced by transfer portal kids. And so now, and I had one coach tell me, and obviously you would know his name, the junior college kid we can get. Why? Because he doesn't have to live that possibly different lifestyle for 4 or 5 years. He only has to come in for 18 months, essentially. Well, it's the same thing. Would they have gotten a Gary Bohannon in 2004? Probably not. But are they getting him today? Yes. Yes, the kid's mature. He's been around. I think he's 7th year, isn't he, Yak? Just like Rising?
He's 6th year, technically.
Okay. Well, the kid is a young man. He's not a kid.
He's 24.
And so he looks at the situation from a young man's perspective, and all that other stuff over here, it doesn't matter. He's not coming here to do that nonsense. He's coming here to try to resurrect his football career and get himself, much like Slovis did last year, in the possibility of getting into a training camp, just like Slovis. It was Slovis with the Colts. Yeah. And so in the next week or so.
By the way, Slovis just got drafted in the UFL.
Yeah. So he'll play professionally. So the mature kid who is 22, 23, 24, he can look at it drastically different than a 17, 18-year-old kid, and he can evaluate the deal and come in just like a Caleb Etienne, just like an Aiden Robbins. I mean, the list, Tyson Williams, the list goes on, really, when you think about it. And those are kids just off the top of my head. And Heckard and the other kid, why did they come? Because it's a better stage, man. They got an opportunity to audition themselves if I can do it here.
A job.
Yeah.
Well, he's got two more of them this year, and Jack Kelly and Mark Collins.
Okay. And if BYU has a top 10 defense in the country this year, I'll certainly
I don't know
apologize.
about this year, but I'm talking about it's a process. The process is getting better.
I'm going to quibble with one thing that Jake said earlier. He said that
quibble with two things.
BYU's been trying to run Utah's off defense for years. Have they really, though? Because
Have they really?
Elisa and Ed Lamb did not implement what Utah was trying to run. No offense. They did not.
They're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Now you got Utah guys.
Jay's had 1 year to really implement this.
Yeah.
You got to give him some time to allow him to really run it.
Kalani, when he first got the job, he put in Kyle Whittingham's defense. I mean,
Jake, I've covered this team as heavily as anybody, and that was not the Utah defense.
Anybody. There's no one more.
Okay,
connected.
let me put it this way. Wouldn't it be easier just to go find Brandon Doman, Dennis Pitta, and Kyle Van Noy? I mean, lean into things you can recruit.
I think they still do. I don't think they were eliminating that. I think that is still a hardcore emphasis.
But I don't care.
The team will always be overwhelmingly LDS, right?
I don't care about the quarterback running. I barely care about the run game.
Well, what the heck did Brandon Doman do?
This is BYU.
That's what the modern offense in college football, period.
What did Brandon Doman do? He ran. What was his grade? And him and Staley, the two best combination of quarterback, runner, and running back, obviously. They've never been better.
Doman didn't play 3 years or whatever it was for the Niners because he could run. Doman was a great passer.
Ooh.
I picked him because he wasn't the elite of the elite
he's a
BYU
Skyline
quarterback
guy. I get why you picked him. Come on. You got that Skyline snobbery.
My point is you don't even need to find Ty Detmer. Find Max Hall. Find John Beck. I mean, find these quarterbacks that go to BYU, that want to go to BYU.
They're going to, but they got to be available. The LDS mama and the LDS papa got to go ahead and produce them.
So you can make excuses for them. That is not my problem.
How's that an excuse?
Well, they found him before, so go find him again.
They'll find him again.
Will they?
Who's a great LDS quarterback out there in high school right now?
Well, Ty Detmer was an LDS. You don't even have to be LDS.
Well, they've got Gary Bohannon, and McKay Hillstead's the latest one they've brought in, obviously. He is LDS coming in from Utah State.
I'm optimistic about Hillstead.
But they just had a kid named Nolan Keeney out of Tualatin, Oregon, same place that Luke Staley came out of, who just committed. He's kind of the next, and he's an LDS kid.
And he's going to be a senior this year?
He's a 6'4" quarterback.
6'4", Jake, 6'4".
Okay.
He's full of muscle, too.
I think if that dude pans out...
220 pounds.
220, 6'4", 220, wow.
I think if they find a guy at quarterback,
and
that will
Utah,
lead to a lot more...
He'd be a linebacker.
Well, Jake's point is well founded. BYU's history suggests when they have a good quarterback, they're going to elevate their play.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, but BYU's history, if you look at the last 50 years under Lavelle and their other coaches they've had an upper-level quarterback. They have been very, very good.
Yeah, and at the same time, last year when they had Slovis, they were 5-2.
Correct, and he got injured.
Things were looking good. I thought he was pretty good. He wasn't a runner. That's not his thing.
No.
100% pro style. But, I mean, their depth at quarterback this year is the best it's ever been.
They've got 4 quarterbacks who have D1 experience this year.
4 quarterbacks who have D1 experience.
And yet nobody's excited about any of them.
Oh, I'm excited about all of them. Are you kidding me? You just told me Hillstead is somebody you're excited about.
Yeah.
So there's at least one person on the planet who's excited about those 4 quarterbacks, one of the 4, and that's you.
Right, but he's 18, and we'll see how is he, 19,
18?
20? What is he? He's young.
This doesn't
He's
make
barely
what age
played.
he is.
He's got a ways to go.
Detmer was once
now.
18. His Adam's apple was the most prominent feature on his body, they used to say.
Well, Liddell Edwards said he expected to see John Elway walk in, and he got Pee Wee Herman out of the deal. So.
Well, he said that after he got good.
After he got good. Yeah, he's like, we walked, you expect to hear about John Elway walking through the door, and there's Pee Wee Herman.
If he stunk, he wouldn't have said that.
Yes.
But since he had that innate ability to make a play, he said that. Yeah, absolutely, man. It's going to be a long, long fall in Provo if you're Jake Scott. If you're PK, good days are coming. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
The Jazz can't make their roster better right now because there's no player out there that makes them better. But the one player that would make everyone else better is the player you currently have. So the Jazz are in this weird situation where they do have this all-star level player, but they don't have the pieces around him to win big. So what do? We don't want to trade Lauri Markkanen because this is a special talent. He's an all-star. This is a guy that's 7 feet that can shoot 40% from free, that has freak athleticism for his size. He is the quintessential athlete. Like you look, obviously he's not superstar status in the league yet, but almost generational in his athleticism and his skill set and the way his body's built. Giving him away sucks, so they're not gonna give him away. They're gonna want a lot.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey! Well, I won that argument. And for Jake Scott, another one bites the dust. 9 a.m. Our Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Daly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Daly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Daly Mazda Southtown in Sandy. You're not a summer league guy at all, apparently.
Oh, I'm the basketball fan in me likes to watch basketball, but there are a lot of things about summer leagues that aggravate me, like the refereeing, and then I think people overreact to what they see, so I always try
good or bad, or both.
Or both. Both, yeah. I mean, it's just people are thirsting for basketball, big basketball community around here, and then we like to read into everything. I teased Ben about Jared Butler a few years ago. How the media just wouldn't shut up about Jared Butler, and Quinn Snyder even was like, "Why are you guys asking me all these questions about Jared Butler?"
Wasn't he a second-round pick?
He was a second-round pick.
Because they didn't have a first-round pick?
Yeah. He had a good summer or some good moments in the summer. Everybody's like, is Jared Butler going to be the difference? Is he going to be what put you over the top?
Nobody asked that.
Oh, dude, go back.
Is Jared Butler going to be the difference?
Ben wrote an article. I'm picking on Ben. Ben wrote an article about how, after the Jazz were out of the playoffs, about how if they developed Jared Butler more, they could have still be playing.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, I teased Ben about this because it was a bit on our show. But, you forget that summer where everybody was just dying about Jared Butler to the point where the coach was like, what are you guys doing?
They didn't have a first-round pick.
Okay, you're into making excuses for people.
No.
But I'm just telling you.
He got attention. I've made excuses for you all the time. He got attention because he was their first-round pick. He was their only pick.
But it doesn't change the fact that people were overreacting to summer.
But about a high pick, though. It's different.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ben Simmons has a good summer league. That guy has sucked.
I'm talking about these guys. Yeah, no question. I think injuries and other stuff have gotten away. But when you've got 2 top 10 picks, you're expected to hit on them. And summer league's all you got, so you go ahead and you get
but you can't.
A little bit excited. Aren't you excited about any of these 3 guys that they just drafted? I mean, I watched the game. I had something else to watch last night, obviously, but I also watched the summer league, and I'm excited about these 3 guys.
That's fine. I'm not criticizing you for that.
But it's based on summer league.
But
I take that back. It's not exclusively based on summer league.
But you're not like, hey, next stop all NBA. I mean, you're not.
Oh, for Cody Williams?
That.
No, I will say that in 27.
I mean, you can get excited about. I thought what I asked Locke about Taylor Hendricks adding some stuff to his game. I mean, I think you can get excited about those sorts of things, and you see the lab, in summer. But you can't tell me that all of a sudden Taylor Hendricks had a good game, and so he's going to be a starter and a rotational guy for the Jazz, and he's
got to be, man. He's got to be at some point. Not necessarily this year, but he's got to be.
Right, but I'm not going to make that determination based on
summer. You're a fan, man. That's the time to get excited.
But you're asking me.
You're a fan.
You're asking me my opinion.
I'm a fan.
Fans get excited about things that I don't get excited about all the time.
I mean, we're fans, but in a different way.
Right.
I'm a fan of the Jazz.
Sure. I'd like to see them do well. Sure. Whatever. I'm not. Yeah. But you're saying fans get excited about this guy playing well and that guy playing well. I'm not going to tell anybody to not get excited. You asked me.
And sure, they overblow it a little bit, but that's part of being a fan.
Okay. I'm not arguing that.
They've got 6 guys that they just drafted, right? They've got to hit on some of them. If not, then this downtime is going to last a decade.
Sure. I don't disagree with that, but you're not going to make your final judgment based on summer.
I don't make my final judgment based on anything. I think you have to bake it on everything, and right now, summer is a small portion, but it's still something worth evaluating.
A media member at the end of last year say definitively, and I can't remember what it was on Twitter, but I think it's obvious the Jazz hit on all of their picks last year. That's what was said. At the end of last season.
End of last season, so the 3 first-round picks.
Saying that
it's obvious?
It's obvious the Jazz hit on Hendricks, Sensabaugh, and
define hit.
And George.
Yeah.
Right. Well, fine. I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I saw that. Like, it's impossible to make that judgment after 1 year, let alone one summer league.
I think it's promising to go down that road.
I think that media member may end up being right, but you can't make that determination after last year. You certainly didn't. I didn't either.
Well, see, I look at hit and I correlate to draft number.
Okay.
So Sensabaugh hit. If these 3 guys go last year, not this year, if these 3 guys are in the league on an NBA roster in 29-30, did they hit? I think you can argue yes.
Okay. I don't think there's
got to be some criteria for hit.
Sure. I don't think there's a guarantee Sensabaugh's on the roster next year.
No, I said an NBA roster.
I know. I watched Trey Burke take second in the NBA Rookie of the Year voting because the Jazz gave him the ball the whole game, and that guy stunk.
Was he second?
Yeah. Behind what's-his-name, Williams, who actually was stinky too.
Which Williams?
Oh, whatever. He ended up on the Suns, but I think he was on the Philadelphia 76ers at the time. He was a point guard who couldn't shoot.
Deron? How do you say his name?
Darren.
That's my Tracy McGrady thing.
By the way, Burke was third. I apologize.
Yeah,
third.
I didn't think he was second.
He was third. Well, second, third, whatever.
So what are the other ones?
Hold on.
You got me curious. Who was second?
Let's see here.
My memory on this stuff sucks.
No, that's not it. Hold on.
I want Rookie of the Year.
Keep talking.
The year that he came out. Believe me, DJ looks up nonsense all day more.
I know.
I got to do that. Sure. Trey Burke did not pan out. But I don't think these guys got the ball.
Michael Carter Williams.
The Syracuse kid.
Victor
Charlotte.
Victor Oladipo was second. And he was Philadelphia 76ers. I was right about that. Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah.
Oladipo was second. Trey Burke was third.
Well, yeah, but I mean, sometimes it's just a crappy rookie class, so you get voted just because if you got out on the floor a little bit. But yeah, Trey Burke didn't pan out. And wasn't he a top 10 pick?
Giannis, by the way, was tied for 7th in Rookie of the Year that year.
That was a crappy draft.
He was the 9th pick, I believe, the Jazz traded up to get him.
Yeah.
Trey Burke got 1 first-place vote.
Probably by somebody from here.
Probably.
Or Michigan.
He played 32 minutes that year, scored 12.8 points per game, 5.7 assists, shot 38% from the field. Yikes.
That was
33% from 3. Yeah, right.
I mean, that was it.
The Jazz gave him the ball the whole game, and everybody's like, oh, this guy's got potential. No, he doesn't. You can't make that determination.
You make a solid case.
So I can't look at Summer League and go, wow, okay. Hits across the board.
What can you... No, not Summer League.
And not even last year. You can't do it.
You can't take any form of...
You can, but I can't predict
promise?
whether... Promise, sure, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, but what are we talking about? What are you talking about? And when you evaluate the 3 rooks who will be going into their second year?
Oh, I think all 3 have potential, some more than others, but... Can you say that Keontae George, and he was the best out of the 3 last year, can you say he's going to be an NBA starter for the foreseeable future?
I don't even know what position they got him at. I mean, Danny Ainge didn't even know that.
An even better point.
Yeah.
You don't even know what position he plays.
But
I don't either.
I think he can help your team win.
Okay.
And that...
I think switching from orange to purple Gatorade will help the team win. I mean, that's such a vague thing.
I don't. No.
But that's the point, is you can't put your finger on it after a year, and you certainly, to go even further, can't put your finger on it after Summer League.
If I agree on the Summer League, but after 82 games, you should have, if you don't have some kind of idea that this guy is worth investing in, then you've just wasted the year.
Portland thought Jermaine O'Neal sucked, and he did suck on their team for, 3 years, 4 years? They barely played him.
He came right out of high school,
They
didn't he?
gave up on him and sent him to Indiana, and he turns into an all-star and one of the better bigs in the league for a long time.
And he's dropping fans on the floor.
Well, why are you distracting from that? Why are you distracting from my point with something that doesn't matter?
That doesn't matter. The Malice and the Palace didn't matter.
To this conversation, it did not. He spent 4 years in Portland. 4. Doing nothing. They had one of the best bigs in the league on their bench doing nothing. 4 points a game, 4.5 points a game, 2.5 points a game, 3.9 points per game. Give up on him and trade him to Indiana.
What'd they get back?
I'd have to look. Does it
Right.
matter?
Yes.
There's no way they got equal value back.
I don't know that. I don't know who they got, so I can't answer that.
He might have even left as a free agent, honestly.
I don't. And what did they use that money then to? I mean, there's all sorts of things that go into it. You just can't look at something at 100% and at face value and just derive all sorts of thoughts and opinions and emphatic statements from it.
But you didn't know what he was going to be after a year, not even close.
But I think that
even Portland didn't know.
But see, they didn't. But he was. You can say that about Kobe and Kevin Garnett too. Guys that come out of high school.
That's exactly. Oh, you can get college guys too. Don't give me that. But that's exactly my point.
But if you don't have a better idea, but you're asking for perfection, and you're going to be disappointed every time.
Oh, here's a article. Former Portland GM regrets trading Jermaine O'Neal.
Yeah. And so you're gonna. There's plenty of guys who make bad decisions. If you think that that's not going to happen, you're kidding yourself. They've had number 1 picks who've been absolute 100% busts. That's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen because if it were an exact science, then anybody could do the job. That's why Ainge is so good at the job, is because it's not an exact science. And there's sometimes a lot of times you have to risk it, but you better hope you're right and better your research and all the stuff that you've done. You better hope that it comes to pass, and you got to trust your instincts. And I'll put Ainge right there with anybody. And I believe that the Jazz have intel based on what happened last year, that they feel better about being able to evaluate those 3 guys from last year more so than this year. Not based on Summer League, but based on everything. And a lot of it is maybe even stuff that they didn't even see out on the floor. It's what they see in practice, what they see in work ethic, what they see in the weight room, all those types of things that we never see, that they see, that they know about. You better have a better idea this year about those 3 guys. If you're still stuck in the summer of 23, then you're not doing your job. But I don't think that's the case.
Jermaine O'Neal, by the way, was traded to Indiana in exchange for Dale Davis, and that's it. And Dale Davis had to be 1,000 years old in 2000.
Look at you. All of a sudden, Jermaine O'Neal is like your debate point.
That's a great example of what I'm talking about. Yes, thank you.
That somebody screwed up.
No, that you can't decide whether or not somebody's going to make it or be good or whatever, or is a hit after 1 year. It's
But
just,
you can have a
can't do
better
it.
evaluation.
Oh, what is that? Okay, fine. Yeah, you got a better
I think that's
evaluation.
important.
All right.
As you go, yeah.
So
Portland
you're
didn't get it
telling
right.
me
They didn't have a better evaluation, apparently.
That you get more information and you can better determine these things. No
Maybe.
kidding. Which is exactly my point.
Maybe. Not necessarily. You got to have the guys in the place who know what they're doing. If the Jazz are going to get out of this losing run, they've got to have the management that is going to get them out. The players are going to help them get them out, and the coaching staff is going to help them get out. But the management has got to be right way more than they're wrong. And I think you can make an argument that they hit on those 3 guys from last year in their own individual levels. Not universally hit. The word hit is a one definition word that applies to everything. That's not the case. You know?
Yeah, you've got that hair split really fine. I got it.
I think my hair looks doggone good. I've been told that. My hairdresser, Trudy, she loves my hair. She jumps on me. Man, you let this grow. I say, I didn't let anything. My wife makes the appointment. I just show up. You know what I'm saying?
No, because I make my own hair appointments.
All right, stay with us. We'll wrap up the show next on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere. Put a bow on it is what he tells me. Oh, my gosh. Another week is gone. Time go fast for you guys?
So fast. Can't believe the summer is, basically over.
It's not over. We're not even to August yet.
My kids go back the second week of August.
Same here. It's weird.
It's early.
But then you get out earlier.
Yeah, not really.
No, they just sprinkle in a bunch of days off during the
Here's a
middle of the
random
year.
Monday
Yeah.
and a Friday off throughout the year. Okay, thanks, guys.
Listen to you guys just cracking on teachers.
I'm not cracking on the teachers.
Yes, you were. They need some time off, man. And plus they got in-service days, grades they got to get done. Let me tell you, I don't appreciate your disrespect to teachers.
High school football's 3 weeks away, guys.
High school football is 3 weeks away.
Something like that.
Cool.
And besides, you're biased about teachers.
I love them.
I know you do.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And those random Fridays give you a chance to go to Kenny during the year.
Do you know that I went and got a teaching credential?
I did know that.
Yes, I did. I'm a proud graduate of my teaching certificate from Grand Canyon College.
Isn't it Grand Canyon University now?
Yes, it is.
Soon to be members of the West Coast Conference.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that was obvious.
Them in Seattle are going to be members of the WCC going forward.
Grand Canyon wanted that bad.
Oh, yes. They've been chasing it for a while.
Yeah. And is Seattle a religious school?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Jesuit school, I believe.
It is Jesuit. I've actually visited that campus.
Have you?
Uh-huh. It's nice.
Yeah.
They play in that Climate Pledge Arena, I believe.
Yeah, my wife applied to law school there. Didn't end up going. But
when I was going through my certification to get a teaching certificate at Grand Canyon, they had a really good baseball team. They played at the NAIA level. I mean, it was really they've put guys in. Tim Salmon.
Well, they're still pretty good right now.
Yeah. Right. I mean, for obvious reasons, the weather. And so they won, and they went to the World Series. But in the celebration in the locker room, they were spraying and drinking champagne, and the school made them forfeit.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a big, big story. Well, we're going back a long time ago.
Them's the rules.
Because I knew somebody on the team, but they didn't even really think of it. But yet, that's what ended up happening, and they had to forfeit their spot. In that was such a blow to those guys, man, as you can imagine.
That's rough.
Yeah.
You could have just said, "Oh, it's Martinelli's. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, really,
it wouldn't have been hard.
Yeah, the local champagne and flavor up here.
Yeah, right. It's just some Martinelli's. Get over it. It's funny what people choose to get bent out of shape about, isn't it?
Yeah, I felt bad for the guys. If they would have known, they wouldn't have done it,
Sure.
I don't think they were looking to go afoul of any rules, but it's sort of a celebration tradition, you know what I mean? We see that all the time of that. When the Bulls won their title, when Jordan won his first title, I was working in L.A. and was in the Forum locker room, the Bulls locker room, and they're spraying everything, and I had gotten one of those little towels, put it over my head to make sure that I could not get soaked, because I had to write and take notes and go write stuff. And then and they ran out of champagne, and they were asking people for change and going in the vending machine and buying root beer and whatnot and coming back and spraying it all over the place.
Got to have something.
Yeah, it was fun times.
The champagne guy really dropped the ball.
Yeah, I know.
Have enough.
I guess they didn't think they were going to win that game or something.
Guess.
I don't know. It was game 5. They won that. That was the only. I think that was the only Bulls final that they didn't go 6. I think all the other.
They went 6.
The 5 that they won were 6, and that one was 5. That first one that they got, lost the first game and then won 4 in a row. All right. Well, thanks for sitting in. We appreciate it. And you will stay at that chair, and Ben will replace me in my chair, and we'll have Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.